Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. This is Hollywood on the Rocks, which this is your cue to actually go and grab yourself a drink. I'm going to start. I'm going to kick things off. Okay, I've opened up a cold one. And I hope you're doing well on a Wednesday afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I know your time zone may vary, but I'm happy that you're here and going to spend your afternoon with us. What do we have on the show today? Well, let me tell you what we've got. We're going to be talking about an indie horror film, French horror film called Some Like It Rare. Of course, we'll talk about House of the Dragon, the most recent episode. Quantum Leap. Alan Ng is here to give us his report on Quantum Leap. We'll also be talking about the documentary series about Barney the dinosaur, playing on Hulu right now. It's called I Love You, You Hate Me. We'll also have the director of the series, Tommy Avallone, on the show with us today. Another bizarre horror film called Masking Threshold. And we have the director of the documentary, Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. It is a very important documentary. And I want you to learn about this film. So much to get through on today's show. So much. We'll give you a little tease of this movie, 5/25/77. Does anyone remember that film? It's finally coming out. This is a movie that has been shelved for years for legal reasons that is finally getting released this fall. 5/25/77. Look it up, folks. Hey, are you ready? Get ready with your chat questions, your comments. Can't wait to chat with you all. I'm fresh off the nooner. I am fresh off the nooner and ready to go. So let's get things started on an afternoon. This is Hollywood on the Rocks.
Hey,
Alan Ng, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh my gosh, busy. We got some festivals we're going to this weekend.
You and I will both be. It's going to be a weird show on Friday. You're going to be covering Newport Beach Film Festival in Newport Beach. I am flying to Tucson tomorrow to go to the Film Fest Tucson. I'll be speaking at one of the colleges there. And additionally, I'll be screening my movie, Attack of the Doc, on Saturday, October 15th. You can still get tickets. It's a large space. It's like an outdoor space. And tickets are still available. If you go to filmfesttucson.com, you can check it out. So you and I will both be at festivals. Yeah. I have to bring it. Okay, so we started a Discord for our members. And Alan spends too much time on the Discord.
I do.
He's not getting his. He had a typo in a review that I always get all the typo mistakes. They all come to me, and then I send them to Alan. And
it was
whatever.
It was the difference between and the. It was a crab or the crab, and I had the wrong one.
Whatever, it's fine. I'm sure you corrected it. It's not a big deal.
And it was a good movie too.
Yeah, but it's so you are spending a lot of time on the Discord. You're just spending a lot of time on the Discord. So I have to say, the people on the Discord which is, you get access to the Discord if you're a member of the channel. It's on fire. Like, this Discord is crazy on fire. And I really am enjoying having conversations with people. But look at they're making memes now. Here's one of the latest memes. Okay. This is, I don't even know how to react to this, but this is
you both like to rant.
I guess it's Grosk. It's Grosk. So there you go. But I don't even know how to react to that, but the memes have been on point. If you're in the Discord, we have two meme channels, just general memes for movies. And then there's Film Threat memes where Alan and I just get shredded. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I couldn't believe that. That's good. But we got a lot to discuss today, way more than we have. Like, it's a little bit crazy, but let's see who's in the chat right now. Let's see who's in the chat. Look at this. Lord Thoth is here. I believe, wait, Lord Thoth, were you at Nerdrotic? I think you were. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Sneaking over from Nerdrotic stream. Hail. Well, thank you for being here. Fur to the future. Other streams are boring.
Absolutely.
Patrick Lemire, Patrick, Nerdrotic was boring, spending way too much time reading She-Hulk leak synopsis. I don't care. I've never cared. If turns out to be good, I'll catch up. Done with FOMO. All right. Well, I actually really enjoyed Gary reading it because it felt accurate. It felt accurate. Like it was so bad. It's like, oh, this sounds like it would be real. John Manilang is here. Hey, John. Good to see you. Hope I run into you at another screening. John's a member. Finally started watching House of the Dragon, and damn, I've been missing out. The show's a welcome surprise. Best thing on TV right now. Mm-hmm. Best thing on TV, and the best episode of that show was last Sunday's episode. We may get into spoilers, so you have been warned. You've been warned. Lord Thoth, hail Film Threat. Patrick Lemire, what's the over-under for an RRR reference? I say 20 minutes. Well, if I read your chat, haven't I? Does that count?
No, I think you have to bring it up organically at some point.
Yeah, well, I would have, but you kind of blew it, Patrick.
Well, there's still time. It's going to come out naturally.
It'll come out. It'll come out.
And it'll come out.
Caleb Dixon for $1.99. Hey, Chris, have you ever seen Language Lessons? I have not. I'm familiar. That's an indie movie. Am I right?
Yeah. I think it's got a big name in it, too.
Yeah. But I'm not familiar. But thank you for the super chat. CD Stein 69. Always good to chat with you, sir. Hail, Chris, Alan, and the rest of you drunks. Just about time for some Hollywood on the rocks. Hell yeah. And hell was here. Chris, keep fighting the good fight. In a few years, we will be laughing this off, hopefully. Well, look, my whole thing is a lot of things these days kind of are bad. A lot of things are bad. You know what's not bad? Check out my Film Threat Halloween. My bright, or if you're not watching this, I'm wearing a bright orange shirt that says "I Heart Film Threat," and the heart is like an anatomically. Where am I here? All the way over here. An anatomically correct heart is on the shirt. It's very much, it's in theme with the season. So, and if you want to support our work, go to shop.filmthreat.com. Pick up yourself a Film Threat mug or a T-shirt. Alan's wearing a shirt. What's your shirt, Alan?
Mine's the Dune shirt.
It's the Dune style lettering. We have a whole bunch of new shirts that we're going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, we've been previewing them on the Discord site.
Yes, the Discord. I posted a bunch. People, I think the big feedback was, can we get these as mugs? So we're going to do that. Amanda Nowicki just became a member. Thank you for that. Amanda always participates in the chat, and we appreciate that. Kid 50 has also become a member. Thank you. That's awesome. Check out on the members tab. There's a bunch of videos. Alan and I have the opportunity to go to a lot of screenings where we get to see Q&As with the filmmakers. And I posted one with Kate Blanchett last week. So check out that. And Alan is going to see, are you going to the gala for?
Yeah, I'm going to the opening night gala is Weird, the Al Yankovic story. And they haven't announced that anyone will be there, but if they are, I will record it.
All right, cool. And so our members will get access to this exclusive video content. And that's the benefits of membership here. So thank you, Kid 50. Prem, KR, Prashant. Hi, new fan of your channel here. Sorry to see the slow death of Hollywood in front of my eyes. Joker was the last good film by Hollywood I watched. Well, that's Joker, by the way, was written and directed by Todd Phillips. And I knew Todd Phillips back in the 90s. He was a big fan of Film Threat. He actually does appear in the Film Threat documentary. He is an indie filmmaker at heart, and I distributed Todd Phillips' first film. He did a documentary about Gigi Allen, and over the course of making the documentary, Gigi Allen died. And we sent him a Super 8 camera, and he included footage from the funeral. So that movie was distributed by Film Threat Video in the 90s. That's when I knew Todd Phillips. He was also one of the creators of the New York Underground Film Festival. And Film Threat also distributed 2 volumes of short films from that festival. So I don't exactly talk to Todd a lot these days. He's too busy with Lady Gaga and whatnot. But I saw him when Joker came out. We had a great conversation, and I'm not surprised by his success, but he's a guy that's like still indie, right? Like when you begin as an indie filmmaker, you work in Hollywood, you kind of have to laugh off the sort of corporate Hollywood BS. Okay. So, but yeah, thank you, Prem. Yeah, Joker. And I'm not like, look, I'm not like, I feel like I need to do like full disclosure. Like if I know someone affiliated with a movie, I'm not trying to like drop a name just to drop a name. I'm just telling you that what I know about Todd Phillips is he's an indie guy. That's the way he thinks. And he doesn't give a fuck. That's what I like about him. Patrick Lemire is a member. The story the press isn't talking about is the utter immolation of Amsterdam. Well, we did a review last week, right, Alan?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's a very long movie.
And unnecessary. 6.5 million opener on an $80 million production budget. Ouch. Bros didn't hold on to the biggest box office flop title for long. Yeah. I mean, these are movies that, to me, they deserve to fail. And why they deserve to fail is because Hollywood has become out of touch with the average moviegoer, the person who consumes their entertainment. And I know I hate those words, consume whatever, or devolving film down to a product, but they're not making things people like. And it's very obvious. Alan Horkin says, not enough hours in the day for all the other streams. Any chance Chris could post clips from those streams? More Gore, please. That would be up to Glanuccio. Glanuccio has been overworked lately. He is killing it on the YouTube channel. So Glanuccio will have to discuss that. But yeah, I don't know. I think we posted like a clip from me on Nerdrotic once, and Gary doesn't have a problem with it. So it's just that we have so much to do with our channels. We do our
best. Now he's gonna watch. Now Glenn has to watch everyone else's channel.
No. But Alan, if you're an editor, hit us up. You must be in the Discord too. Micah P says, hey, I'm coming to Attack of the Dock on the 15th. Are you there until then? Yes, I will be there. I'm leaving Sunday morning, the 16th. I'm going to be at the screening. So if anyone is going to see Attack of the Dock on Saturday, October 15th, tickets are still available at filmfesttucson.com. Grab your tickets. I'm going to get there early. I'm going to be nervous. Who knows? I'm just going to be very nervous because it's the first public screening of the finished movie. It's 90 minutes. I think it might be like 88 minutes. Here's a little pro tip here. The credits are long because we literally put 1,100 names of the people that contributed to our Kickstarter are in the credits. Okay. They're all in the credits, but there's a post-credit scene that you have to see. It's awesome.
Now, is it much different than what I saw, or is it just like
very different than what you saw, Alan? We restructured the third act. We moved a lot of things around. We added more. I don't want to say
more Olivia Munn. I know.
Yes, more. Just it feels more like that screening was like, okay, we've got the structure. What's still not working? That screening at San Diego really helped us out. Now it's a real movie. Now we're planning on how we release it to the public, but we're kicking it off with Film Fest Tucson, and some other secret screenings are coming up. I don't want to announce yet until I actually have a date. Not the Batman. That She-Hulk synopsis sounded so bad. I was sitting there thinking, yeah, these writers think they are clever enough to think this is clever. You're right about that. Like I'm listening to Gary read through the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, this sounds real. But your imagination of what it is better than what will actually turn out if that is the real synopsis. And we're going to find out like tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I agree with the latter half of that comment of the writers thinking that they're doing a great job and that they're patting each other on the back. And
right.
That, that they're making statements for women. And, and I think, I don't think they're quite making statements for women.
Bethany for 5. Could Joker 2 live up to the darkness of Joker as a musical? 100%.
Yeah.
Are there any dark musicals you can think of? Yes. Maybe some of Rocky Horror Picture Show, but for the most part, Repo, the Genetic Musical. Look up Repo, the Genetic musical. It is freaking dark and weird, and yeah. I think Joker 2 is going to be brilliant. The idea of Lady Gaga being in it, that it's a musical. It's and also if you can find Martin Scorsese made a movie called New York, New York with Robert De Niro and Liza Minnelli. It is a very dark musical. So check that out. Not dark like murder or whatever, but it's not a happy musical. Sean Z for $1.99. Sean Z Cosmic Construct for $1.99. Do a screening in Houston at the River Oaks Theater. We're looking at doing some screenings, kind of rolling it out like little by little, and then we're going to drive toward a date of digital release and a special edition Blu-ray that we're going to do one printing, and that's it. We're just going to print a few thousand copies, and we're not going to do, because there's like 20 hours of extras. So we've been working on the Blu-ray since August, and it's going to take us. This is not going to be like a quick release, but you'll be able to see it. And Sean goes on to say, yes, favorite part of my day. Hope you both are well. We're doing great. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Patrick Lemire, so is the doc locked, or is this a second draft? It's locked. It's done. It's done. The only thing that may change at this point before we finish the Blu-ray will be some of the credits. So some of the credits, we want to make sure like we're having like other people look at it. Like, is everything good with the credits? We did sort of the best.
Everyone's name spelled right.
Well, not just that. It's just a lot of just the credits. But yeah, no, this is it. It's done, Patrick. So if you see it, the only thing that may change are actually the words in the credits. The credits, there's like extra songs and extra stuff that's in it. I don't want to say, but we made it so that you'll sit through the credits because there's stuff happening. I don't want to ruin it. Patrick Lemire goes on to say, Boston Legal's writer's room was 50% women. She-Hulk could have asked for help. Instead, they just slapped each other on the back and said, you go, girl.
They could have at least used some lawyers in that writer's room.
Yeah. And CD Stein 69 says, hail Alan and Chris Allen and the rest of you drunks. Just about time. Wait, did I read that one already? I may have read that one.
I don't think so.
It's okay. Just about time for Hollywood on the Rocks. Yeah. And Fur to the Future says, what about that story recently where an anonymous writer for Lucasfilm said that different teams work on episodes and they just have to meet a deadline and try to piece the story together? That would make sense. That makes sense based on what a mess all the Disney Plus shows are. There hasn't been one good Marvel show, and there have been Mandalorian's probably the best. That's the highlight. So, and Andor, I'm just like, look, you got to make something's got to happen now. You can't plan a heist for 4 episodes. I've been talking about this heist forever. It better be the biggest payoff ever, or this show is a waste of time. I see people constantly calling it Andor. So yeah. And Ferd goes on to say, Will Smith, that like button. That's right. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe. We're trying to get 100,000 views, or excuse me, subscribers. We get 100,000. I'd like to get 100,000 views on one of our videos, but we've got a few videos that have over 100,000, more than a few. But we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. So please, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Oh, wow. And the last time that we reached a milestone, we presented a very special video. We have an even more special. So when we hit 50,000 subscribers, this was our treat, and something we're just giving back.
Yes. Yeah, a treat. I can never watch that scene ever again. It's like,
well, Owen Klein can't watch that scene. He can't watch. We got to have Owen Klein on the show.
And that's exactly what he wants to see.
See if he sticks around. But so we are planning a very special video for 100,000 subscribers to celebrate. We need your help to get there, and I appreciate it. We have over 300 people watching, so please smash that like button.
It's showtime.
All right, let's get into it. Before we get into our reviews, Ellen's got a review of Quantum Leap. We're going to talk about House of the Dragon. I want to go on a little rant because something really good happened last week. We had the director of Terrifier 2 on here. His name is Damien. What's Damien? Why am I forgetting his last name?
Yeah.
Someone's going to remind me.
Yeah, I'll get it here.
Damien's the director of Terrifier 2. It's in theaters.
Damien Leone, that's what I thought.
Damien Leone was here talking about Terrifier 2, and he mentioned casually that he would like to direct a Friday the 13th movie. So I have something to say about that. A freaking IKEA chair. All right, so here's the thing. A lot of people wanted to, and I understand this sentiment, wanted to start an online campaign to get Damien to be able to direct Friday the 13th. Now, there is a correct pathway to making this happen. Here is the correct pathway. And this can happen, but there's got to be the professional way of doing it. What Damien needs to do is he needs to do a little bit of research and find out who currently holds the rights for the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm going to guess it's Paramount, but not just Paramount. There's usually a shepherd of that franchise represented by a production company and or a producer. And here's what needs to happen. Damien Leone, and anyone else can do this, okay? Damien Leone needs to go on IMDb Plus. Okay, there's IMDb. It's not Plus. It's everything is Plus these days, right? Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. He needs to go on IMDb Pro, and I'm a member of IMDb Pro. I can get a phone number for anyone's professional representation on IMDb Pro. What Damien needs to do is, one, he needs to get an agent or manager. Not very difficult for Damien to do for this reason. One, he's already directed a couple feature films. And two, his was in the number 10, in the top 10 at the box office, okay, in the month of October, with a horror film that has overperformed by all accounts. What's the running, look up box office right now for Terrifier.
On Sunday, it was just over 800,000.
I mean, this is a small indie movie. For those of you that saw our interview with Damien, he's a real dude, no BS, hardcore horror fan. And if you saw Terrifier 2 in the theater, God bless you. I'm telling you, that movie is hardcore. But the way to do this is to, if he doesn't have representation, get professional representation. Because nobody who owns the rights to the Friday the 13th series at Paramount is going to take a meeting with a random person. And they are, in particular, not going to listen to a campaign on social media to get a director that's at least not unknown to us, because we pay attention to indie films, but unknown to the wider, more mainstream Hollywood industry. How this happens is he gets a manager or agent and says, I want to have a meeting with the producers or the company that holds the rights to Friday the 13th because I have a pitch. And then what Damien does is he goes in with a pitch. It's usually just a 5-minute pitch for a show, a movie, whatever. Here's how I would do Friday the 13th. And he tells his pitch. Sometimes that is augmented by what they call a rip-o-matic or a lookbook. What's a rip-o-matic? A rip-o-matic is an edited series of scenes, usually anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. Here's kind of what I'm trying to do. It gives you a sense of the tone. He may even go so far as to direct a scene from his vision of Friday the 13th. He may also create a lookbook. What's a lookbook? It's a book of, color printed out pages. And I've seen these lookbooks before, and it gives you a sense of the tone. George Lucas, when he pitched Star Wars, had Ralph McQuarrie do a bunch of paintings. There's like 12 paintings. When George Lucas pitched Star Wars to studios, he brought these 12 paintings and he showed the paintings. You know which ones I'm talking about. Look up Ralph McQuarrie, Star Wars paintings. He did all these paintings to kind of show you what the world of Star Wars would look like. This is a technique, and it gives you a visual representation. Sorry, I hit my mic. It gives you a visual representation of what you're trying to do. All Damien needs to do is plan his pitch, know exactly what he's going to say, Go in with a lookbook, a pitch deck, or a Rip-O-Matic video. Give that pitch to the producers to be the director of the new Friday the 13th. And then Damien's going to come back to us and say, hey,
thank you.
He's not going to, he's going to forget us. He's going to be doing an interview with Vanity Fair and he's going to forget us. No, Damien strikes me as a great guy. Now, a social media campaign augmenting that could be really good, but it should come from Damien. It could. So follow Damien on social media, Film Threat. We're following him. Look up Damien Leone, follow him on social media and encourage him to do that. If he doesn't have professional representation by now, he will have no problem getting that based on the total box office for
it's 1.2 million.
1.2 million for this little indie movie that he put his blood, guts, and soul into. Literally. Have you seen the movie? So that is the correct pathway. That is the correct pathway because no one will talk to you unless you have professional representation. Damien, if you're watching, listening, get that meeting. Let us know what happens. Let us know what happens.
Yeah. So the current owner is New Line Cinema, which is under Warner Brothers.
So it's under Warner Brothers. Okay.
Paramount was the original owner of it.
Right. Okay. So he's got to track down the correct person, and your representation can do this. The correct person within that company to get that meeting. It's all about this. Is agents and managers, I think, are kind of useless except for one thing. They can get you meetings with people. They can get you in a room. And the reason is you've been vetted, right? Damien, he's directed a couple horror films. This one did 1.2 million at the box office, cost a lot less than that. That movie is a huge success, by the way. And who did he talk to? He talked to Film Threat. So there you go. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are. Let's look at the comments in the chat here. Misanthropic. That's a 9, right? Is that a 9?
A 9.
9. Misanthropic 9. DKK. It's 89 DKK. Do you think we will see great movies like 12 Angry Men, Shawshank, Fight Club, The Usual Suspects, RoboCop again from Hollywood? Or is the only hope for originality in indie movies? I think for right now, Hollywood is dead. I think Hollywood is mostly factory filmmaking. And the little thing that seeps through, like, for example, Tar with Cate Blanchett, it's rare. And Tar just looks like an indie movie anyways. Tar is
not going to bring in the money that is necessary to warrant making more of them or making a reboot. And the same with the titles here. Those are great titles, but I don't think it's gonna bring in the audience that it needs to in order to get that film made.
Right. But no, I think that like that it's gonna be a matter of stronger leadership at studios, people that are willing to say no. I mean, and you know what? You have to be unafraid of being perceived as an asshole. Unafraid of that. And I hate to bring this up, but Harvey Weinstein, as much as a monster as he was known as an asshole, and he was involved with some of the greatest films of the last couple decades. A horrible human being who was an asshole, but it resulted in some great movies. I don't know. That doesn't justify his behavior by any means. I'm not endorsing it in any way. I'm just saying that leadership, you have to have strong leadership and people that are not afraid to be perceived as an asshole. So there you go. Fur to the future, dude, new Andor episode is supposed to be full on action. I've been hearing that for 3 episodes. I thought after episode 3, like, man, when we get to episode 4, it's gonna be action packed.
Episode 3 was action packed.
It's going to be action packed. It's like it should be action packed every episode. I don't know what all this.
I mean, remember when that TIE fighter flew by and just the feeling you got, just the sound, the screeching of it, and again, episode 3. That was 3 episodes ago.
Yeah. Zach Trammell says, "Ha ha ha! Hot damn! And what a treat it is for $1.99." Lord Thoth, or Saturday the 14th. Turo says, I like Chris's shirt. Don't take that as a compliment, Chris. We all know you hate compliments. Alan, your shirt is nice too. Well, the thing is if you go to shop.filmthreat.com, our shirts you can get in different colors. Okay, so you kind of pick the design, they're all custom made. So you pick the color you like and then the design and get the shirt you want.
My daughter has that as a gray hoodie, and she
Oh,
loves
really?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of money on that one too.
Teddy Sneer says, and snore. How's your father? Says, and bore. And then Solomon Thornton says, Chris, thanks for the advice for pitch book because I created a pitch book for my thriller film. Yeah, it's something that augments because people in Hollywood are stupid. Okay. So you have to like appeal to them and have a low attention span and are constantly busy, though not doing much actual work. So
they don't want to read your script, that's for sure.
Yeah. Then not only do they not want to read your script, they have people hired to read the script for them to give them the one-page synopsis.
Yeah.
But the lookbook gives you a point of reference of this is what they're trying to do. So a lookbook or a pitch book can help, or a Rip-O-Matic, which is like a video version of a pitch book. All of these things help. And famously, directors have put together, some directors I've heard behind the scenes will spend $100,000 from their own production company to put together a pitch to a movie studio. Because once you snag that, it's huge. Mm-hmm. So Patrick Lemire says, says, I almost wish a big studio would get behind the Terrifier franchise instead of Damien going up against the past. Well, let's say this. I think that Damien's going to do very well because more of that money is going to make it into his pocket than had he done Terrifier through a studio, which would have altered the movie dramatically, and less money would have made its way into his pocket as opposed
and he would have lost all rights to it, and so he would no longer, if he wanted to do merch, if he wanted to do comic books, if he wanted to do a TV series, it's no longer owned by him.
Look, I think it's important that you kind of keep one foot in indie, one foot in Hollywood if you can make it work on your terms. But mostly indie is the best way to go. And then if you can find, and it's usually about the personal relationships at that studio, if you can find your champions that are there, hopefully they don't get fired in 6 months. But I would love to see Damien do Friday the 13th. And I think that step one is get the meeting. Well, step one is actually design the pitch. What is the vision for it? Step two is get the meeting. And then step three is get it in development. But if it happens, I would say that the Film Threat viewers had a hand in it. Mm-hmm. I would love to see it. Patrick Lemire says, I want a Film Threat shirt that just has an IKEA chair on it. There is a design that someone posted on the Discord with all in the Film Threat memes channel. With it's like the Film Threat logo, but done with the IKEA colors. Have you seen that one, Alan?
I think so. Oh yeah,
it's pretty funny. But let's get right to it. We need to talk about. We're up to on Quantum Leap. Is it episode 4?
Episode 4.
Oh, okay, Alan. You know what?
Okay.
All I can say is this. I feel partially responsible for this review because what I did is I made a deal with you that I'd go see Bros if you reviewed Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I'm definitely getting the better end of the deal because, quite frankly, the last 2 episodes were good. I would say it's a solid television episode, and it did what I was complaining about in the first 2 episodes, and that was focus more about the Ben Addison relationship and that story of him leaping into somebody, and then really put the behind the scenes stuff in the background. And they for the second week in a row they did that. There's a little bit of the behind the scenes. You understand, they revealed why Ernie Hudson's character restarted the Quantum Leap project. Ben has now realized that Addison was his girlfriend, and now there's more mystery as to where Ben is going, because it's been revealed now that he's on a trajectory somewhere, and by reading the comments of my last reviews of Quantum Leap, it feels like he's moving to find Sam, which was definitely the motivation that Ernie Hudson's character was going on. So the thing I want to talk about is what makes a good reboot and what makes a good sequel. And I always say it, you have to take what you love about the original, bring it into the sequel, the reboot, and then build upon it. And I think, this show suffered from where She-Hulk suffered. And that was, they never should have started with the behind the scenes. What they should have done was start with the what is the third and fourth episode now, and just bring us back to that feeling of what Quantum Leap was Sam jumping into a body, Ben jumping into a body, and then trying to figure out what went wrong and then make it right. And then you start feeding in the backstory. And I feel like that they should have just done it that way, because I think you would have held on to a greater audience from the start, rather than lose them right off the bat and then bring them now. Because right now I'm okay with a little more of the backstory, just kind of spoon feed it at this point. But I will tell you where the problem with Quantum Leap is now, and it's basically bland characters. Ben and Addison, it has nothing to do with the actors who are doing it, but their characters are written very bland. Ben is the guy who was in charge of the project. Addison was his girlfriend, who has I think she has military training or military background. And that's really all we know. And if you compare Ben and Addison to Sam and Al, Scott Bakula was kind of a known actor. I think, if I could be wrong, but I think this was his really first big leading role. And then Dean Stockwell had been a character actor for a long time. And so there's a familiarity that we had with those two characters, and there was this dynamic that played out throughout the entire series. Sam was just trying to figure out what was going on, deal with the Swiss cheese going on in his head, and then write what went wrong. And then Al is there. He's not sure how this works. He's got a faulty handheld device that he's constantly hitting, and so there's character development there. There's quirkiness. There's ideas. And here, Ben is just a guy who's the leader. He's a strong leader. How do we know that? Because people told us he was. There's the constant, oh, well, if Ben were here, he would have done this. We're being told what a great guy Ben is, rather than showing us what a great guy Ben is. But I will say, at this point in time, Quantum Leap is, I would call it a solid B show, now that we're 4 episodes in, compared to where we were at the first 2 episodes. It just got picked up for, I believe, the balance of the season. So, NBC is pretty happy with it. As long as they kind of stick with the stories that they're telling. This time Ben leapt into a female bounty hunter. And the stories really, what they're doing now is they're kind of taking the stories that Ben leaps into, this idea of a woman who is unsure about marrying her best friend, who's the other bounty hunter. And they're kind of bringing that love story now by bringing it into Ben and Addison, where he realizes that they were once lovers, and then taking it outside into the lab, and then showing similar stories. So they're at least theming things well. I think they're on track. There's potential to be better, or potential for it to be better than it is. And so we'll see, because as we've learned with Hollywood, they're going to screw it up at some point, and we're just waiting for that moment. But so far, so good with Quantum Leap.
Not one thing you said got me excited about Quantum Leap.
I mean, how excited were you about the original?
I like the original. It was fun. It was just it was a very simple concept, and they focused on that concept. And everything that you've told me, the side characters aren't interesting. It doesn't, the leaping should be the best part of it. It's not, nothing you said.
It's getting there. I mean, I wouldn't say that the original Quantum Leap was Shakespeare.
Right.
There were certainly good and bad episodes, but even the side characters, there's the Asian woman who is the security specialist. Well, she acts tough, and that's basically the sum of her character. Then they have the non-binary character who, is the smart guy, the programmer. But that's all there is to that character, other than how he looks and how he dresses, or how they look and how they dress. And so the only real good character in here right now is Ernie Hudson, because he gives a speech in this episode about, how he knows how his personal connection with Sam Beckett, because he leapt into him in a previous in the original series. But only Ernie Hudson can pull off that speech without it sounding sappy.
Again, you're giving it a B. You're being way too
I'm
nice.
being generous.
You're being generous. You're first of all, I admire your loyalty to this show, but you initially didn't like it, and now you're warming up to it. Are they wearing you down?
That's the thing. This is why it's so hard to review episodics, because with She-Hulk, we liked the potential that it had, and it failed. In this one, I hated the setup, and it's starting to at least try to become what the original series was, with this added addition of the backstory, of the behind the scenes.
All right. Well, let's see what the chat has to say before we move on. Jesus Davila for 5 thumbs up with a little pumpkin emoji. Thank you for that. Fur to the Future says Quantum Woke. Turo, a freaking IKEA shirt with a shirt emoji. Lord Thoth, ugh, Quantum Leap, ugh. Fur to the Future, Quantum Leap off a building. Am I right? Someone in the chat, hey, good to see you, someone in the chat. Not all heroes wear capes. Thank you, Alan, for enduring quantum cheap so we don't have to. Pepto-Bismol, says Fur to the Future. JD for $4.99. What are your thoughts on Swamp Thing as a property? Movies, shows, cartoon, comics, etc. I love Swamp Thing. There was a run that Alan Moore wrote with Stephen Bissett in the 80s that might be the best run of that character, which I thought was fantastic. I thought the Swamp Thing movies were kind of dumb. I saw them when I was a kid, and they were not very good films. I love, because I was reading the comic. I want to see the Swamp Thing movie. It was not great. It was not great, but I don't know that they've ever done it right. At least, outside of the comic.
Swamp Thing was the one with Adrian Barbeau. Am I thinking?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Lord Thoth. Wow. A solid B. Seriously? Huh? Remember, it comes from Alan. So knock off. It's definitely a C. NBC would be happy with a fart in a jar, says Not the Batman.
I think any studio would be happy with a fart in a jar.
JTPRX is a member. Sounds like it's more of a C-. Sorry, Alan, because you're giving it. It's sort of like it's like you'll see like the Rotten Tomatoes score is like a really good score, and then you read the actual review and it's kind of negative. That happens sometimes where the text doesn't match, and everything you're telling me sounds like you should be rating it lower.
I mean, it's fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally not a bad or faulty show, other than the structure, the way they structured the first 2 episodes. But again, I think it is going through some of the growing pains of a new show, in the sense of, these characters are bland. These characters haven't had the time yet to gel, and now the next, I think the next 4 episodes, 3 or 4 episodes, is going to say a lot as to whether the show is heading into the right direction or not, whether it can get better, or if they just completely lost grasp of the show itself.
Turo says it's getting there. That's why you should have called that's what they should have called Quantum Leap. It's getting there.
Yeah.
How's your father? Are there disappointed, disapproving Asian parents in the show?
You see, that's the other thing is, so we had 2 Asian characters ever in a television show, and I'm exaggerating, but none of them are eating with chopsticks. None of them have those disapproving parents showing up yet, and that's what I'm saying is, they're just actors, they're just actors filling the role. Ben could have been white, could have been Hispanic, could have been Latinx, could have been black. Doesn't matter. It would have still been the same character with no nuance to it, and that's where it needs to evolve over the next few episodes.
Right. Patrick Lemire says Dean Stockwell added umami to anything he was in. He makes everything better.
Yeah.
And Mugen 1, Alan is pulling a Lofty. If you're aware of who Lofty Pixels is, you know what that.
I don't know who Lofty Pixels is.
All right. And Spidey Sensei 72, who's a member, says that NBC check finally cleared for Alan.
I will say I was able to upgrade to no ads on Peacock for 50 cents. So
50
very
cents
happy
and you
about
get
that.
no ads?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I hate these ads. I went to upgrade and they charged me 50
My
cents.
nipples look like milk duds.
No, now, Alan, come on. We can't. We need to get serious on this show.
Late.
All right. Well, wait, Patrick Lemire, a final thought on this. Not Asian X?
Asians.
Yeah. Why are they not doing? They do the Latin X.
Yeah.
Did you
I
see?
mean, if you want the real answer, it's the O and the A. It's gender. It's gendered terminology.
Did you see that they did Philippine X? They tried to make that a thing.
Yeah, that was the panel after ours at Comic-Con.
Oh my God, Philippine X! Like, oh God, this is the thing is whenever they put diversity in like a mainstream network TV show, it's the most generic version of it's like it might as well be white people in ethnic makeup. That's how terrible these characters are written, in my opinion. So yeah. I'm just letting you know. I
don't know what this need to have to change the language for the sake of changing language. I think in this whole Velma thing, Mindy Kaling described adopted children as foundlings. Who did she just create this? Is this a real thing, or is she trying to change the language? And I think that's the problem with woke culture today is they're trying to change the language.
Right. Well, look, let's switch gears and review something else. I want to get in a bunch of reviews because we have two guests coming at the end of the show around in like an hour or so. We've got guests coming in, two back-to-back interviews, and we'll be interviewing Tommy Avallone. Tommy Avallone, wait, what's going to be the best? That's probably this one. Tommy Avallone is a filmmaker. He made a documentary about Bill Murray. He did a documentary called I Am Santa Claus with Mick Foley in it. There's a watch party on the Film Threat YouTube channel with Mick Foley that you can see. He did our I Am Santa Claus. Mick Foley did our I Am Santa Claus watch party with us. So check out Tommy Avallone's I Am Santa Claus. And Tommy Avallone is just an amazingly prolific independent documentary filmmaker. He made this, it's a two-part series he made for Hulu called I Love You, You Hate Me, and it's about Barney. It's part like weird Member Berries pop culture documentary sort of set in the late 80s, 90s, mixed with a true crime story. You discover through the viewing of the two episodes, it's like about 2 hours total in two parts of this show. You meet the woman who is the creator of Barney. She was a woman, a mother from Texas who had a young son who she wanted to entertain, and she came up with the idea for Barney the dinosaur, a purple friendly dinosaur to entertain her young son, and she developed it into a local television show that then got picked up by PBS and became a huge phenomenon that she licensed Barney to be used for a traveling musical show for children, to merchandise, to videos that were sold on VHS. She became worth hundreds of millions of dollars from Barney, but horrible things happen. There is a shooting involving her son. There is horrific thing. It tore apart her family. You meet the people behind the scenes who worked on Barney the dinosaur that are just proud of their achievement. The actor who was a dancer who was in the Barney costume was different from the person who did the voice, but this actor just put so much into it. Like you really do have to appreciate that he put this much into a show for single digit age kids. Now, what the show then devolves into is how much people hated Barney. There was like an I Hate Barney the Dinosaur fan club. There were I Hate Barney parties. There were like incidents where like a mascot for a baseball team beat up Barney the dinosaur as like a bit, right, on television, which resulted in a lawsuit. The This documentary, you start watching the first 5 minutes of this thing, you will be riveted. And what the documentary goes into as it gets to the, I don't want to give too much away about the doc because I was shocked. And on a personal note, I hated Barney the dinosaur. I hated Barney the dinosaur, not because my kids were the right age when Barney the dinosaur was around in the 90s. So I had those videos. I don't think I ever watched a show, but it was on in the background, and the shrill sound of Barney the dinosaur's voice, "Hey kids," it reminded me of, this is why I think people didn't like Jar Jar in Star Wars Episode 1, is Jar Jar kind of reminded me of Barney the dinosaur, this annoying character with an annoying voice. And it's interesting because they even like draw an analogy between like a culture of just sort of people just sort of just being like just, you know, cynical about everything, right? And sort of Barney the dinosaur was kind of the beginning of people just cynical online culture. I can kind of see some of it. I don't completely agree with everything that is at the end of the film. But I'll say that this is an epic documentary spanning decades and it totally leans into the fact that people could not stand Barney the dinosaur. I love this doc series. This is like a home run for Tommy. We're going to have him on shortly to interview him about the documentary series. And I got to say, I can't recommend this enough. So this is also a movie that could have been released theatrically. Maybe if they cut a 90-minute version of it. The true crime stuff that comes in at the end is just like, someone's going to get the rights to tell this as like a narrative film. I could definitely see like an Andrew Garfield starring in this or something and doing like the real life story. But oh my God, this series is fantastic.
So I'm confused. Is the movie about what happened to the creator and her family, or is it about the hatred that the public had toward Barney?
All of it. It's the entire story of Barney the dinosaur. It's about the woman who created it and the people behind the scenes and the sort of rise of the popularity and then the fall of the franchise. And then it's simultaneously about people hated Barney. So like there were all these, which kind of fueled people like, you know, the kids that were watching the show were completely unaware of the fact that college kids were having parties where they were taking baseball bats and shotguns to Barney stuffed animals. So it's like you've got this one sort of like, you know, this sort of, we've seen the story before, like the rise, like, oh my gosh, they're making money and it's popular. And there's a woman who gets the rights to Barney the dinosaur to do official children's birthday parties where someone in a costume will come to your kid's birthday party as Barney. And she got the franchise rights to do that. She got the license. Just so it's like, you've got these two parallel stories, the love of Barney and its popularity with kids simultaneously with everyone who couldn't stand Barney. And then how that sort of ties into a cynical people online just hating on a lot of different things. I like that aspect. You could see that. There's even a little side thing about Jake Lloyd and just a lot of, it's really, really interesting. I know Tommy even tried to interview Ahmed Best because I talked to him about it, who played Jar Jar, of course, and whatnot. But like, this is a great.
How did Jar Jar get involved in the Barney story?
No, it's just that
for hatred, fan hatred.
For fan hatred.
Yeah.
So it's a great doc series. Cannot recommend it enough. Alan, what did you think?
I didn't see it. I let my Hulu subscription lapse.
Oh, well,
I haven't seen
that
it.
on you. But look, if you already have a Hulu subscription, it's on there. I don't know that they're going to be promoting it, so
they won't.
This is me telling you, hey, because there's a lot of like true crime stuff that turns up on Netflix and stuff. It's all kind of the same, but this is like a mix of true crime, but then also a mix of like this rise, you know, from rags to riches story, like a Horatio Alger-esque story, along with like this bizarre sort of member berries from the 90s. There's a lot of 90s stuff in this. So I really love this doc series and I strongly recommend it. Let's see what the chat has to say. If we have some comments about it. Irene Chugchalski is a member. Drinking booze, I think, in her profile pic. Alan is expanding his pay-to-play portfolio. It's not only Disney paying him off now.
Look, diversification. That's the only way you're going to make it in the world. You cannot put all your income into one source. You have to diversify. And so now I'm going after Universal next, and then Paramount soon after that. And I'll have a good steady flow of income at that point.
Let's see. Bethany says, I'm watching it as soon as I can. Chris has sold it to me. No, I'm telling you, you watch the first 5 minutes of it, you'll be riveted. Like, I didn't even want to watch it. Okay, to be clear, Tommy's like, hey, I made this documentary about Barney the dinosaur, because I've known Tommy for years now. I'm like, all right, well, sure, I'll check it. Barney, I said, who would ever want to see that? I hate Barney the dinosaur. And he's like, that's exactly what it's about. It's about people who hate it. You got to see it. And it's just epic. It's like, you cannot believe where it goes. That's why I don't want to give away too much, but just like, if you want to see like a 90s Member Berries thing mixed with true crime, mixed with like, it's awesome. Amanda Wiki says, Barney sounds like Elvis, and people loved and hated the character. Alan Horkin, Barney's songs were insidiously catchy. They get into that.
Yeah.
Like Death to Smoochie, but in real life, says Spidey Sensei 72, a little bit like that, for sure. Question the Answer is a member. They used Barney to torture inmates in Guantanamo Bay, made up facts that sound true. I think they talk about that in the doc. They talk about that. So Amanda Wiki, my grandma used to record episodes of Barney on VHS for me and my sister because we lived in Italy. She later admitted she hated having to record the episodes. Look, I did the same thing. You know, look, I'm a dutiful dad. My kids like something, as long as I know it's harmless, fine. Okay, you like Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Barney the Dinosaur, great. But this doc is, this is not, they made that documentary about Mr. Rogers a couple of years back. I think we interviewed the director for the podcast. This is not that at all. This is not that. This really leans into controversy. Andrew,
there's no inspiration. There's no, hey, fulfill your dreams here.
Andrew Eterno, who's a member. Yeah, F you guys. I was born in 91 and Barney was the shit. Oh, that's it. Sean Cosgrove. The San Diego Chicken was that mascot who beat up Barney, I believe. Yes, it was the San Diego Chicken. So the San Diego Chicken is in the movie, and they interview the San Diego Chicken. They show that footage of Barney getting beat up. There was a lawsuit that resulted in that. The woman who created Barney the dinosaur was like fed up. She's like, okay, enough. Barney hate has gone too far. I'm going to sue. And they go through the lawsuit. It's so crazy. You're like, how is this? This is nuts. That's why I think somebody's going to see this doc series and try to develop a feature film based on this story, because it's so crazy. Irene Chugchalski, let's get together and kill Barney, she says. Lord Thoth, only a fan of purple Valkyrie, not a fan of purple dinosaurs. And that video clip they had on Geeks and Gamers that you were on last night about the G.I. Joe brand manager was the epitome of the cringe woke culture invasion of anything, says CD Stein 69. Yeah, I was on Tuesday night's main event yesterday. If you have not, if you tune into that show, it's kind of a little bit like Friday Night Tights. It's a panel show, bunch of nerds getting together, talking shit to each other. And Jeremy on there showed this panel at from San Diego Comic-Con about G.I. Joe. The woman who was the brand manager asked people to introduce themselves and their pronouns. And it was like, you could see the line and they're all like bearded dudes, like all like, and it's like, well, I want people to feel like they have a safe space. It's like, okay. Yeah. A few more comments here. Kid Fitty. I want to say Fitty, but it's 50. Kid 50. I remember I wrote a short haiku about killing Barney. Oh. Well, then this movie's for you. CD Stein 69. Alan talked diversifying. What's next? Ing Tower in downtown New York?
Yes. That, and then the presidency.
President Ing. It's coming. PBS.
It'll be beautiful.
PBS early aughts was interesting, to be honest, says Andrew Eterno. And can't wait for him to make a Teletubbies documentary, says Solomon Thornton.
No, I want him to make the Caillou documentary. I never want to punch a kid more in the face than Caillou.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I just look. It's part of Film Thread's job to tell you about things you wouldn't know about if you didn't watch this channel. And I'm telling you right now, I love you. You hate me. Fantastic. And the good thing, it's not like 6 episodes. It's 2 like 50-minute episodes. So it's, almost 2 hours and well worth the time. So you got to re-up your subscription.
Yeah. I've met people who have films and TV shows on Hulu and they don't advertise. So if you get your movie on Hulu, you need to do your own advertising and marketing. They're not going to help you at all.
Cool. I want to switch gears now that we've gone through those comments. We're rapid fire today, folks. We are rapid fire today. And I want to talk about a film that is out in theaters. You'll soon be able to get on demand. It's from the Alamo Drafthouse. Alamo Drafthouse is a chain of movie theaters. Many of you know it's legendary. It's an amazing movie theater. If you've ever been to one, they always show up early, get there 30 minutes early and get a seat, order your food and drinks. They bring it right to your seat. There's no refreshment stand. They bring you popcorn in a giant metal bowl. It's not just a movie theater. It's also a dinner theater. It's an experience. Fantastic. But that's not what this is about. Alamo Drafthouse has now stepped up and said, look, we're going to start distributing movies to our theaters. So they got the rights to this horror comedy called Some Like It Rare. It's by a French director who also stars in it. His name is, and I'm going to butcher it, his name is Fabrice Ibo. Fabrice Ibo. And he stars in it, he directed it, and he did a little intro actually for the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. He came out and just gave this little intro to the film. It is in French with subtitles, so just putting that out there right away. But it's about a couple, Vincent Pascal and his wife Sophie. They own a butcher shop, and what do? They sell meat at their butcher shop, little tiny butcher shop in France, and they are constantly harassed by vegans. Meat is murder, and these incredibly cringe, annoying activists are constantly harassing him, going to his shop. They break in and they break things and they splatter paint everywhere and ruin things. And he's just fed up with these activists ruining his business. Well, one of the activists accidentally gets killed. And what can Vincent and Sophie do except they got to find a way to dispose of the body? And in the process of disposing this body using many of the tools that they have in their butcher shop, they soon discover that vegan human meat tastes delicious. Which leads to a little something like, well, why throw this meat away? We'll just sell it. We'll say it's Iranian pig meat. So they put Iranian pig meat for sale in their butcher shop and sell it, and it's a huge hit. Lines out the door for this meat that is so tender, it's so soft. And why? It's because the humans were vegans, which then leads to them tracking down vegans to continue to get the Iranian pig meat for their shop. I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but there is a rival butcher shop. There's a vegan festival. There's the couple's young daughter that gets involved with a vegan boyfriend. There is so much. This movie is an insane, over-the-top French comedy that makes fun of activist vegans. The timing for this could not be better. It's not woke in any way. In fact, it makes fun of woke people, makes fun of woke vegan activists. But it really is at its heart. It's it's a horror comedy in French. It's at the Alamo Drafthouse now, and I love this film. So that definitely I would put on a list of movies that you wouldn't have heard about if you didn't watch Film Threat. I learned about it just a week or so before. Wait, they're doing a screening? This movie's opening in theaters. We get a lot of press releases, and I was like, okay, this sounds like it's right up my alley. I love horror comedy, and I love also, in particular, French comedies. A lot of people, I could see this being remade for the U.S. for sure. it totally would translate. A lot of
Well,
French comedies get made.
Yeah, a lot of the comments coming in, I mean, they're saying basically it's this Sweeney Todd.
Well, yes, it is basically Sweeney Todd, but with a modern twist. Okay, with a modern twist. Well, with the vegan meat being tasty. So there you go. Let's go to your comments here real quick. Matthew Hammond for $4.99. The TV show Dinosaurs final episode involved killing a Barney type character. Oh, wow.
Oh, by the way, I need to correct you on the documentary. It's on Peacock. It's a Peacock original.
Oh, it's a Peacock.
Yeah, so
Man.
I could have watched it.
Why did I think it was on Hulu? Well, we'll have to correct that in the copy. Yeah, that's the TV show Dinosaurs. Yeah, God, I hate it when I get facts wrong. Now I'm all thrown off. First of all, thank you to the chat for correcting me. But God, I got to do a better job. Get it together, Gore. Amanda Nowicki, France seems to be the place to go for entertainment. Yeah, someone in the chat says, making fun of vegans, I'm in. Free-range, grass-fed humans, says not the Batman. Amanda Nowicki, vegans don't sound like they would taste good. So
You don't know until you try it.
Yeah, wait. So the activists are portrayed accurately, says CD Stein 69. Absolutely. Here we go. Sweeney Todd again, says Davina Duckworth. Yeah, yes, it is Sweeney Todd, but with a modern twist. It's annoying, incredibly annoying vegans. The lecturing kind. Loom TV, hey Chris, what is the best way to get an indie film featured and promoted on Film Threat? Thank you. It's very easy. Go to filmthreat.com, click on submit, and we have a submission. The problem is we've got even with 30 writers writing for us, doing 4+ reviews a week or a month.
A day.
No, not a day.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
that's on average. So we're delivering almost 150, 200 reviews on a monthly basis. We can't cover everything. But there is a submission form. You go to filmthreat.com, up in the upper right corner, go to submit, just send us your movie. We review short films. We distinguish short films as anything under 45 minutes, anything under 45 minutes. If it's over 45 minutes, it's considered a feature. Documentaries, animation, if it's on YouTube, whatever, send it to us. Alan will review it. And Some Like It Rare sounds like Delicatessen, but clearly has a totally different look. Yeah, says Alan Horkin. Yeah, it is a little bit like that. Delicatessen, Sweeney Todd. It's a familiar story, but I just thought that the way that they just made fun of the vegans are a big part of it. They the husband and wife couple, they kind of infiltrate this group of activists, but what they're really trying to do is just murder them for their meat. They're trying to murder them for their meat. And someone in the chat says vegan people are literally the woke Hollywood people. Preach, 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 preach. Yeah, no, you gotta see it doesn't directly make fun of wokeness per se. They're sort of agnostic about it. It's just stop trying to ruin our business. And then they're like, oh, I see an advantage here. And they play it for comedic effect. Although I will say there are a couple scenes that are pretty gory. It's not as gory. It's no Terrifier 2. Let's just say that.
Now, did you go to the screening that had the barbecue?
I did go to the screening that had the barbecue.
I wish
the barbecue was delicious. You should have been there, Alan.
It's homecoming. I had to go to a football game.
All right. Well, there you go.
I know.
But there you are. Some Like It Rare. See, that one is worth seeking out. I will say this. It's worth seeking out. All right. Let's switch gears here to because we got guests coming. House of the Dragon. Let's get to that. And we're gonna get a little spoilerish. I mean, it is there are people that do. I mean, Gary from Nerdrotic does a live stream the minute the episode is over. He watches it and just goes live. So
I will say I only saw the first 50 minutes. I didn't realize it was close to an hour and a half.
Well, it's like an hour 15, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
An hour 15, hour and a half.
So
Anyways.
I'm basically where the king puts his foot down.
All right. Well, let's talk broadly about this episode, and broadly about House of the Dragon. There are other live streams or YouTubers that will go into, intense detail. The reason we need to tell you about this is the best show on television right now. You look at all of TV, that's network TV, all streaming services, everything that is current or new television, new on streaming. This is the best show out there. And I'll restate a couple things of why I really like it. I think it corrects a lot of things that made Game of Thrones difficult for some people, right? I think one of the things that I always found, just a little irritating about watching Game of Thrones is there were so many B stories. And the good thing is they all connected in some way, they connected, but there were so many B stories that some would go away for a couple of episodes or even for a whole season. With this, House of the Dragon is fully one story. It's the story of House Targaryen, and it's focused on that. And now we've seen the last episode, they were children. Now they've grown up, right? Aemond and Aegon are now they're bedding women, right? They're active, and they have not grown up when it comes to their ability to antagonize their cousins. It's and I love that it is a little like jarring with the recasting. They've recast the kids. Have they recast the kids like in the 3 consecutive episodes? I think they may have.
I know, yeah. There's a whole new set of kids in this episode from the last set of kids from the last episode.
The good thing is Aemon has the eye patch. He's easy to like, oh, okay, that's Aemon. But I love, and some people have complained about this. I actually like this. The pace of the show is things you got to keep up, because between episodes, it may anywhere be from 6 months to 6 years or more have passed. And what you're seeing is the episode that you're witnessing is these are where the consequential events occur. And in this episode, it's the death of the king. Viserys dies in his sleep with a tear running down his cheek. And I mean,
there's a spoiler there. I haven't gotten to that point. Yeah.
He's gonna die, right? Could you not? You probably thought he was gonna die a couple episodes ago. But I have the sneaking suspicion he will be the only character in this series, and I haven't read the books, the only character in this series that has a peaceful death. He dies in his sleep. Everyone else is gonna suffer a horrible death. This is what's coming. And now with the king gone, there's nothing holding anyone back. It's going to be all-out war between the two factions of the family, right? The Greens and the Blacks. So I'm all in for it. There are 2 more episodes left. I cannot wait. And the way that they handled the Viserys, the makeup on him, you see from where he was at the beginning of the show to the very end, is incredible. In this, they used some digital enhancement to make him look gaunt. He has like a sort of piece of armor he has over his face because his eye looks like it's completely, like it's been
decayed in a way.
Decayed. How he's living, I don't understand. But I mean, it's got the one arm, which is basically worthless. It's gone, withered and gone. But oh my God, like that to me is a performance that he's going to get nominated for some kind of award. Whether you care about awards or not, that performance is remarkable.
What was remarkable to me was even in that state when he enters the room, the adulation he receives or the respect he receives, considering where the houses are at this point, or the families are at this point. And, for him to kind of stop the squabbling and to finally say this, I already told you one time and nothing's changed. This is how the line of succession plays out.
Yeah. Paddy Considine. I think he's a lock for a nomination. I think there may be some other ones as well. perhaps Olivia Cook. You don't know. There's just like, I just think that this show is really the best. I mean, like, here's what's amazing about this show. Some of the best scenes in this show have no dialogue. Okay, no dialogue. When the king Viserys walks up to the chair, to the throne, the throne, like nothing. There's no words spoken, but so much happens. The way that each character is observing it, what the moment means, him sitting on the throne, like just to, reestablish, like, you need to stop all this infighting. This is going to destroy the family.
And even when Daemon walks over to help him,
yes.
after shunning everybody else away, he allows Daemon to walk him over.
Well, that moment, people are saying it was a mistake. In rehearsal, Paddy Considine, the actor, the crown fell from his head, and just improv, Matt Smith came over, Daemon came over, took his crown, put it on his head as he sits on the throne. So it was a moment that was from rehearsal that we're like, oh, that's really good. The moment's not in the book. It was just something that Matt Smith kind of like on the set was like, he was in character during that. What does he have to do? And this is the thing. This is how you can tell how good an actor is. Okay. Watch this about Matt Smith. Not only do they sound differently or approach things differently, and they have their face, an actor that is really a good actor will walk differently than they do if they're playing another role. They will actually have a walk that is different than if they're playing another character in another movie. Go look at how Matt Smith walked as Doctor Who. Watch how Matt Smith walks in this. He walks differently. This is the level of detail. British actors are just so much better trained than American actors. I'm sorry. Point of fact. I just have to point that out. But I'm loving this show. I hope you're watching it. 2 episodes left. I can't wait. Maybe we'll do a live stream after the finale, a special live stream after the finale episode. But God, I'm loving this show. And it's already been greenlit for a season 2. Yeah. And just keep telling this story. I just bought the book. What I'll probably do is when the season is over, I'll probably read the book. I definitely will read the book.
Well,
I don't want to read it now.
I think that's the issue everyone has with the last season of Game of Thrones is there was no book. There was no source material.
Right.
And at least with this one, the storytelling has already been done and it's already been deemed good. So now it's up to basically the studio heads to screw it up, and it looks like they're staying pretty faithful to it.
Well, the book is effectively a prequel to Game of Thrones that tells the histories of these families and kind of where it got to when Game of Thrones started, is my understanding. I get all my info on that from Gary Beekler at Nerdrotic. Shout out to Gary. Hail to him. But yeah, he's the one who convinced me you got to read the book. Even if frickin' Ryan Cannell from RK Outpost can read a book, I can read a book.
But they can't see RRR.
They can't see RRR.
There we go. We just brought it in. We
brought it in organically. I'm going to bug those guys. Watch. Our RRR is going to get nominated for Oscars and probably Best Picture. Not a lot of competition out there, frankly. It's been a weak field for movies this year. And I think when it comes to Oscar films, a lot of the ones that people deem like this is so great they're not going to resonate with mainstream audiences. And I think it's possible Top Gun Maverick could get nominated for Best Picture. We'll see.
I think Elvis is the only lock at the moment.
The actor, what's his name? Aaron Butler. Is that correct? Austin Butler. Why did I say Aaron? Austin Butler. Yeah, I think he's a lock to get nominated. Kate Blanchett is not just a lock to get nominated. I think she's a lock to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But yeah, let's go to the chat here. House of the Dragon. It's weird. I did not expect to like it so much. I really did not expect to like it so much.
Yeah, I was not that much on board at the beginning, but I think after that first jump, it was like, okay, this is getting good. This is building to something.
Yeah. Alan Horkin says, show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
JTP RX says Team Black. And then Patrick Lemire, a lot of shows should have used time jumps. Yeah. Patrick Lemire goes on to say, thank God for Hollywood on the House of the
Dragon.
I was going to say Hollywood on the Rocks.
No, thank God for Hollywood on the Rocks. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, thank God for House of the Dragon. Otherwise, the YouTubosphere would have nothing to love. Well, there's not a lot of good stuff right now. I mean, Andor is, I think, turned out to be a disappointment for Alan and I. I mean, She-Hulk turned out to be a disappointment. The main, like basically the enemy is 4chan. The enemy is like a Reddit. Yeah. Like, what are they doing? Yeah. Philip for 10 says no more time skips for the rest of the show. The first season had to cover the 20 years leading up to the war since the source material is written, has a history book. Yeah. Like, I hope that they stick with these actors. I mean, just put them in old age makeup because the recasts, they do get a little, like, you kind of have to reset. Like, wait, okay, is that Aegon?
These time jumps, it's disorientating. You see new characters and now you're figuring out who they are. You're trying to lock in that this character is this character. And that's what happens in the first 5 minutes of that episode now. You're just trying to figure out who's who. And then you finally get to set in and then enjoy the rest of the story.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Philip. I appreciate it. I agree with you. I think they should just, the actor who's playing Aemon is so good with the eye patch. You can kind of see him right there. Like with that scar, he's so... he's just, oh man, just please keep him. Just use old age makeup. Look what they did with Patty Considine. Like they can stick with these actors now, kind of lock it in as this, because we know the war is coming and it's going to be brutal for both sides is my prediction. Ryan Landis, it won't be a real GOT show until we see a Starbucks Starbucks coffee on set. Yeah. And Ryan goes on to say British actors make great American characters act. Yeah. Look, here's what's funny. The best Batman is played by a British guy, Christian Bale. All right. You can, like, I think he's the best Bruce Wayne. Let's just say that. Christian Bale, best Bruce Wayne.
Well, the current one.
Ben Affleck's a very good Batman.
Yeah. And the current Batman is British as well.
Well, what do you mean the current Batman?
Robert Pattinson, isn't he British?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, when you say current, you're like, isn't Ben Affleck still playing Batman? It's kind of confusing. Yeah. But yeah, like, I just think that this is what I heard from casting. I have a friend who works in casting, and I have friends who are filmmakers, and they say that British actors are much better trained. They are better prepared. They care about acting. They don't care about being famous. And bluntly, a director friend of mine said American actors tend to be lazy, undisciplined, and care more about being famous than the work.
They're entitled.
No, I'm serious. He's just like blunt. Like, I like to hire the Brits. They do a great job. They meet the mark. They come in with their sides and everything memorized. They've read through the script. They know everything. They're just better trained than American actors. And so you've got, like, look, you've got Superman, Henry Cavill, British, playing an American icon, right? I don't know. It is what it is. You're right, Ryan. Sean Z Comic Construct for $1.99. British actors good, but take a chance on me. All right. Are you an actor? Let's see. Someone in the chat says, is it true that Elizabeth Olsen and Henry Cavill has been cast in season 2 of House of the Dragon? Anyone confirm? Alan, use the Google. And we have over 400 people watching us right now. Please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And if you haven't been around Film Threat, you don't watch, anything can happen here.
So I feel like you're ruining that movie for everyone else now.
No, I'm trying to remind people. Question the answer. How did Alan stop watching right at the best part?
Alan has too much stuff to watch, and he gets as far as he can go before falling asleep.
JTP RX, the king's face at dinner was awesome. Yeah, Viserys at dinner, like that dinner scene. I think it's the last time you're going to see the family peacefully gathered, is what I'll say.
Actually, that was where I stopped. Right as the dinner was beginning.
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen and Henry Cavill in season 2 of
Yeah, I'm
House of
trying
the
to
Dragon.
look that up. I don't see definitive word about that yet.
Mr. Smith says, "What the fuck? Damaging my childhood crushes."
I know exactly.
Fur to the Future, the most paused scene of the 80s. I saw that in a movie theater when I was a teenager.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you rent Fast Times at Ridgemont High on VHS, that part is all staticky. It's all worn out.
I blame you, Alan. I blame you.
I wasn't the only one. Believe me.
Ryan Landis, nice Allens. Oh my God. Yeah, but this, I'm just, we're so used to things like coming out and they kind of like, I don't know, it just sucks, right? It's just like, it sucks that like, I want things, I'm an optimistic, hopeful person. I wanted She-Hulk to be good, that's not the case, unfortunately. And did you get any intel, Alan?
Not
Anyone
yet.
in the chat?
Still
No?
looking.
All right.
Not
Well,
seeing.
we have guests showing up soon. But maybe we have time for one more review. We may have time for one more review. Show me the Allens. God, I love that. Yeah. Let's see if we have time. Oh, I wanted to talk about this. This isn't going to be a review. Not going to do a review, but I want to just throw out a little, like, put this movie on your radar because they pushed the release of the movie. They actually pushed the release of the film, but the trailer is out there. So this is just as a recommendation to look for this movie, but it's not out yet. It's called 5/25/77. It was made, God, I want to say it was originally shot in the early 2000s. And it's about a true story about a kid who was inspired by Star Wars, saw Star Wars on May 25th, 1977. That's what that's a reference to. And then was inspired to come out to Hollywood and become a filmmaker. So the trailer is out there. Seek it out. And I've been looking forward to this movie for a long time. And we are going to get the director of 5/25/77 on the Film Threat Livecast for an interview. But in the meantime, seek out the trailer for this film. I can't wait because it's been caught. There's some legal nonsense behind the scenes as to why this movie hasn't gotten.
I would imagine it's all that copyrighted material that appears in the movie.
Well, they did have George's blessing, but George doesn't own Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
And it
plays a good section of the Star Wars theme in it as well.
Well, and Gary Kurtz produced this film before he passed away. It's not been released, but put this film on your radar. If you've never heard of it, we are going to have the director here and we will do a proper full review at some point. I just want to let you know that the trailer is out there and that you should check it out. Alan, any news?
Yes. It's all false rumors. Elizabeth Olsen has already stated that she never heard of that rumor before, and then I'm not sure about Henry Cavill, but I believe it's the same report that no one ever approached her about it.
And then Glanuccio says the file name for that video is Linda's Allens.
I know.
All right.
There were some comments saying that now I'm a big boob, and am I really that big?
Well, you're taller than me, and I'm not short. So.
But I'm just saying. I wouldn't say they were ginormous.
All right, I got to take a quick break. Why don't you check in with the chat, and then I want to tell everyone about masking threshold.
Okay, Glenn, if you can help me grab some comments here, that would be great. All right, career opportunities with Jennifer Connelly was one of my favorites over Fast Times. I can't disagree with you. I think this is a comment. Career opportunities was a kick-ass Clash song. Let's see. Film thread. Either of you two heard about Sydney Sweeney starring in the remake of Barbarella. I heard about it this morning. I just heard that news item, so I don't know how far that is, but that would be pretty exciting. The real life Mark Ratner ended up writing for the For Dummies Microsoft Windows book. Okay, I think that's the director, right? Of it. Okay. Did you see the Alan Nipple version of in the theater as well as when you were a teenager? I'm trying to remember. Was I a teenager when that movie came out? I think I was. I think I was in that age range when that movie came out. Bad Pecs Alpha. Be careful. You're gonna remind me to have nightmares of Alan. I know. I'm just saying. Do we want more of that video or not? Patrick Lemire. The British actors came off well in Star Wars prequels, and the Americans suffered from Lucas' lack of skill of directing acting performances. Yeah, I think if you watch some of the prequel behind the scenes, I think didn't Haley Joel Osment, audition for Luke at that point, and it just surprised me because when you look at Jake Lloyd's, I don't know, but I remember watching Jake Lloyd's audition, and it sounded very much like the performance we got, and part of me was like, why did he? What was he seeing that the rest of the world was not seeing in that performance? Because it was just as bad in the audition as it was in the actual movie. Let's see. Forward to the future. We love you, Alan. Oh, thanks. Kid 50, you're a perfect boob. Oh, thank you. I guess my young self would thank you as well. I don't know. Let's see. Brock Samsonite. The scene in the training yard with Aemond and Sir Christian training was badass. Nephews, you have to come to train. Yeah, I think we even compared that to the Rings of Power fight scene, and noting that there was a lot of subtext behind the training fight in House of the Dragon than there was in Rings of Power. Rings of Power was just to show that Galadriel could stand sideways and you couldn't hit her. All right, let's see. Did I do this one? Americans can't do English accents because they forgot to sharpen their consonants. Tom Holland is actually on point if you ever see him discuss American accents. I will say, though, there are several Brits that I think have problematic American accents, and I will throw Benedict Cumberbatch into that category. I think, one of the Cornetto guys, not Simon Pegg, but the other one, Nick
Frost.
Nick Frost. He has a horrible American accent. It sounds very much like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah. Did we get this comment? Alan Horkin, please watch Andor episode 6 before writing it off. Wait, did that come out today?
Must have.
You know what's so funny? I got so bored with it. I didn't it's not like Sunday. I know what I'm doing Sunday night at 6 p.m.
I know. Usually I get notices of that. I thought I saw She-Hulk came out.
She-Hulk is out tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow? Okay. Maybe it was Andor then.
Cool. I am gonna watch it, but yeah, I really wish they'd gotten to that quicker. They could have started with episode 6. Sean Z Comic Construct for $1.99. Been acting since 12 here in H-Town 4 Direction. Where's H-Town? You mean Hollywood? H-Town? Shucksy. If the video makes Alan uncomfortable, I support it 100%. And Road Rager for $1.99. Have you guys seen Terrifier 2 yet? Thoughts? We actually talked about Terrifier 2 last week. So Road Rager, if you're new to the channel, search our channel or just go to the videos, scroll down. We reviewed Terrifier 2 and we did talk to the director. We did an extensive interview with the director with a chat got to ask questions. And if you're a regular viewer of our channel, you'll note that, hey, come join our live streams. We interview filmmakers live. We have 2 coming on momentarily. On that note, I'd like to talk about a movie really quick by a filmmaker whose work I have really enjoyed. If it wasn't Star Wars, it wouldn't have been allowed to linger that long, says Zach Trammell. I agree. Let's talk about I want to talk about a very bizarre horror film called Masking Threshold. Now, why do I want to talk about it? It's another film that's through the Alamo Drafthouse distribution label. It is in theaters in limited release and will be coming to video on demand. And it's made by a filmmaker that I'm going to butcher his name. And so please, it's Johannes Grensfurthner. Johannes Grensfurthner is the director and writer of this film. Masking Threshold is about this. It's about a guy who works in computers, this IT guy who has tinnitus in his ears, a ringing in your ears. Everyone has had some issues with that in the past. You go to a concert, it's loud, you're going to get temporary tinnitus, but it's torturing him. It's torturing him. He can't get over it. So he quits going to work and does a series of experiments to understand why sounds are bothering him so much. And it's the most experimental, weird horror film I've seen in years. Okay. I'm not saying that as an endorsement necessarily. This movie is not going to work for everybody because you never see the lead character in person. It's all, and this is also what's kind of haunting about the film. For the first 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, are we ever going to see? You never actually see the face of the person who is narrating the story. You see what this person sees. You see their mouth, but you never see the person per se. And the protagonist of this story is trying to sort of self-diagnose the tinnitus and try to fix it. And nothing seems to work. He's studying bugs. He's studying if you bring certain things into a room, how it changes the sound in the room. He has this neighbor from next door that he gets involved with. It's frightening. It's very experimental. And I'm giving this a recommendation for people willing to roll the dice and take a risk on something bizarre, different, and weird. So the fact that it got a theatrical release is mind-boggling to me because it's like an experimental short film, but it's also riveting because parts of it are very poetic. So I recommend if you're someone who wants to experience something that's very bizarre, the closest thing I could even compare it to would be something like Eraserhead, where the very act of watching the movie kind of works on your psyche. So Masking Threshold has that aspect. After a while, you're like, oh, we're never going to see the lead character. It's just like close-ups of things. And some of it is fairly gruesome. I got a very good review on Film Threat, right, Alan? If you look up the movie, it got a really good review, I believe, from Bradley Gibson. Gave it high praise, and that was like, all right, well, I need to watch this for myself. So I watched Masking Threshold, and oh my God, it just, it's one of those things where you kind of need to take a breather after you see the film. So, it's not a very mainstream horror film. It's like an experimental horror film, and I recommend it for people that want to experience something. Yeah, it's from Fantastic Fest. And it's bizarre.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 at Fantastic Fest. So that's pretty good. So there you go. Yeah, and then Patrick Lemire says, sounds like Cronenberg. Yeah, if it sounds like Cronenberg with no budget. What I like about it too, what I like about Masking Threshold is this shows what you can do if you have almost no money. It looks like a movie that was made during the pandemic, just with a couple actors in a single space. Incredibly well photographed. So check, again, your mileage may vary. Now, let's get into it. Let's switch gears here because we have our first interview of the day. My buddy Tommy Avallone is here with his series that is currently playing on Peacock. It's a 2-part docu-series called I Love You, You Hate Me. Welcome to the Film Threat Livecast, Tommy Avallone. Tommy, how's it going today, man?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing great. Wait, what is in the background right now?
So I'm in my basement, and this is my movie store. So you have like here, this is more movies over here.
Oh man,
and
that's awesome.
There's great collections too. It's like I have like the Kevin Smith selection. I have the Quentin Tarantino. So I have the A24 films. So I have like movies about robbing banks, the One Day Hangout movies. So I try to make it like a video store.
Well, I got to say, you've made some remarkable documentaries in the past. This is not like anything you've ever made. It's incredibly ambitious. We reviewed it earlier in the show. I think I convinced a few people to check it out, more than a few people. We've got 350 people watching live right now.
Cool. Hello, people.
Hey, okay. All right. Yes. Get your question to Tommy. And there is a trailer. Did the trailer drop for this?
Yeah, the trailer's out. Yeah.
The trailer's out. Okay. You got to see this because you will not believe it. What made you even think in your mind's eye, like, I'm going to make a movie and it's a documentary about Barney the dinosaur? Why did you decide to do it?
Yeah, it was just one of those things where I was, on Instagram and I saw this old like 1993 newscast. It was the University of Nebraska. It was a Barney bashing event, and all these college kids were just beating up Barney, like ripping him up, hitting him with a hammer. And at the end, the newscaster is like, well, that's the future of the country right there. And it's like, we're living in that future now. Like, we're living in so much hate. Why don't we make a documentary about, like, why do we love the things we love? Why do we hate the things we hate? And tell it through the story of Barney the dinosaur. So that's really where it came to. It wasn't like I was like, Barney needs a documentary, because so much of this stuff, like, no one knew. It was just kind of like we had this idea and we just started investigating, and it's kind of where it came to be.
Yeah, it's amazing the level of detail. I got to ask, like, where do you even start with it? Because when you watch the first 5 minutes of the movie, I'm riveted. Okay, there's a crime element to it. There's sort of a rise and a fall, that sort of rags to riches story that is also a great story to tell of this young mother from Texas who decided, I'm going to just make a character for my son to entertain my son. There's also like the behind the scenes, these incredibly passionate people. The actor who's the dancer who played Barney the dinosaur, his passion is incredible. So where do you even start on doing research to be able to put together like at least sort of a loose outline of this story?
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of just like Facebook, we hit up Bob West, the voice of Barney. We're talking to David Joyner, the body of Barney. You try to hit those sort of people, and then you start finding other things. And, when we first started talking to Bob West, I was like, hey, he knew of my work from the Bill Murray stories, and we had this like great conversation. I told him this is a research mission, I was like, I just want to, I don't know anything about Barney. When I was young, I was too old for Barney, but, me and my friends had a Barney costume that my aunt made us, and we would beat it up on camera. That was like our way of being like, we thought we were like Mad TV. There's a couple seconds of it in this movie here. But, and then he told me that, yeah, there was some hate from Barney. He actually got a death threat from a 9-year-old via email, and so it was just all these sort of things that we'd find out. And David Joyner is like an interesting character where some people are upset with him because he's also a tantric sex guru, and with that's those two words, that and Barney, are like, some might think is weird, but like the way David talks about it, I think is really, you get it, so there's a lot of strange characters. One of the writers from Barney used to write for Chuck E. Cheese. Another writer has like 13 parrots in his room when we talk to him. There's this little, and one of them used to be a mime. It's a really great, unique cast of characters for Barney.
Well, we've got over 300 people watching right now. A lot of questions from the chat. Do you mind taking some chat questions?
Sure. I cannot see them. Is that all right?
I'll read them to you. I'll read them. So here we go. Lord Thoth says, it's a blockbuster, commenting on your background.
It's actually a Watchdog video. It was a mom and pop shop in Audubon, New Jersey.
Oh, that's great.
When they went under,
Patrick Lemire says, we don't need to go to Blockbuster. We have a Blockbuster at home. And Matthew Hammond for $4.99 says, how many hours of Barney did you have to watch to create this movie?
You know what's great? I didn't edit this movie, so not as much as you think. You know, I watched this. So Barney was first like with tapes. So like these tapes right here were the first 8 tapes of Barney. I watched them, and then I watched a couple episodes. I watched the movie. Well, other than that, I didn't watch too much because, you know, it is a story about Barney, but also it isn't. We call it like a love, hugs, and American rage, you know, and it's all about like, you know, in so many of my documentaries, we kind of do these sort of Trojan horse sort of things where you're learning about Barney, but we're also talking about like, where does hate come from and why do we hate the things we hate?
Right. Let's see. VDR says, have you needed to attend therapy after making this doc?
But yeah, but that was just me from going from an independent artist to doing something with a network. It has nothing to do with Barney.
Oh no, go ahead.
I whenever have anyone down in the basement, just since we're talking about the movies, I want to show this really weird movie that I have. I'm guaranteeing you've never seen it, or if you did, let's see.
Oh, let's see. All right, so Tommy's going to his shelf. It's amazing, and it's the green screen paint, which is great. Yeah. What is this movie?
A gnome named Norm.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've never seen it, but
I've never heard of that one.
Is that Dave Coulier?
No, it's Anthony Michael Hall and some like weird creature.
What is this movie?
I don't know, dude. Like, I used to work at a video store, and I always see this cover. I was like, and I've still never watched it. That's not true. I've seen parts. It's really weird, but I couldn't tell you one thing about it. But I can't wait to like rewatch it one day. It's just like, I always remember it being such a weird. It's like almost like Mac and Me, you know, like the character.
God, it looks like something that would be featured on Best of the Worst. You know, Red Letter Media.
Right.
They do those. They do those Best of the Worst.
I think it's kind of a hidden gem. I'm not sure many people know about that one. I'll just put it down there.
Let's see. VDR says, I've seen a gnome named Norm. The G isn't silent.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
There's a lot of questions for you. So let me go through these.
Let's hit it.
Zach Trammell says, I love the Bill Murray stories. Can't wait to check this out.
And Bill Murray's right here. Look.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. That's the mask you use in the film.
Yeah.
CD Stein 69 says, what subject would you delve into for a documentary if you had free range, and why?
Well, I am doing a new documentary right now called The House From, all about people who live in famous houses from movies and TV shows. And we're actually releasing it ourselves. We have a Kickstarter right now, thehousefrom.com. And we're in the Kickstarter. One of the rewards is a limited time only Kickstarter DVD. So it would be something that would fit in this collection. But yeah, we've been to the house from Full House, Home Alone, Golden Girls, Friday, Silence of the Lambs, Uncle Buck, Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, Twilight. We've been to all of these houses, talked to the owners. We actually had Ethan Umbre go back to the Can't Hardly Wait house and do some lines from Can't Hardly Wait. So it's a great project, and we're just going to release it ourselves. So that's what our Kickstarter is for, thehousefrom.com.
Okay, wait. I got to go to it right here. I want to share it so people can see.
Oh, nice. There you go.
The campaign is live now. 21 days to go. You are 10% of the way toward your goal.
We're at 11, Chris. 11.
Wait. No, it says 21 days to go.
Oh, no, 11%. I was just...
Oh, 11%. Oh, okay, 11%. It's better.
Yeah, it's a little slow this week because of Barney, but, you know, after Barney week, we're going to put more attention towards it. But I'm really excited about this one. I'm actually going this week, and I'm flying to Albuquerque to do some of the Breaking Bad and going to Tulsa for the Outsider's house.
Well, I hope you come to Pasadena, because Pasadena is home to one of the houses from Back to the Future.
So many.
A bunch. And then also the Adam West 1966 Batman TV series, Wayne Manor, is in Pasadena.
Yeah. And so much is in Pasadena. On one street in Pasadena, there's Biff's house from Back to the Future. The house Biff kicked the ball on, that's Luke Wilson's house from Old School. Right next to that is Lorraine's house from Back to the Future, which is also the same house from Teen Wolf that Michael J. Fox had. And then over here is George McFly's house, and then Ghost Dad, and across the street is 30 something, all in one block in South Pasadena.
Wow. Well, I love living here. It's like
no,
the
it's
Midwest.
Pasadena is great, man.
Andrew Eterno says famous house and Brady Bunch house.
Yeah, I think HGTV did
Yeah,
that.
we didn't do that one just because it's it's owned by the network, and they kind of did this weird construction thing already.
Oh, that's bizarre. Paul Colton for 5 says, I worked part-time at a PBS station in college, master control operator. One Sunday during Pledge Week, there was a Barney marathon, 8 hours of Barney, man. So
yeah, but you know what? I bet Barney raised a lot of money for PBS that day because he was crazy with the kids. Like the kids loved him.
Crux Ryaju Chu says, did you interview the VA for Barney? If so, what was the most interesting question you personally had that got answered?
The VA.
You interviewed a lot of
voice actor.
Yeah, the voice actor.
Oh, yeah. Bob West. Yeah, he was the original voice of Barney up until like early 2000s. And then we also interviewed Dean Went, who was the other voice of Barney.
Yeah. Patrick Lemire asks, not to be specific, but does getting picked up by Peacock replace what you would get from a theatrical run pre-streaming?
Yeah, we didn't do a theatrical run for this. I still haven't seen it with an audience, which is a little disappointing, but it was great to have like a network sort of be behind this one because, I did I Am Santa Claus, the Bill Murray stories, and Waldo and Weed. And, Bill Murray stories and Santa were both on Netflix for a couple years, but there's never that sort of network push. So it's really exciting to I was on Access Hollywood, guys. Mario Lopez said my name.
Wow. What was it like working with the network? Were you restricted at all, or was it fairly open?
It was different. And I'll say it this way, that I think in my life, I'm going to go from a network thing to a completely independent thing. It's the only way I feel like I would like keep myself sane, because there's a lot of things about making an independent movie that drive me crazy, like doing everything yourself or like with 2 other people, which is so fantastic not to do that with it. I mean, we had like so many, like I didn't have to book my own flights. That was fantastic, and like to not have to worry about so many things you could just focus on telling the story. But on the flip side, it's like, there's a lot of people's opinions, and you're trying to do your best to tell like a straightforward story. So it's just back and forth. So there's so many things I enjoyed working with the network, but then there's also things that I really, really love doing independent that I don't get from doing at a network.
More questions and comments here. Ryan Landis says, Barney Jar Jar buddy cop movie. That's my pitch.
Yeah, well, Chris, you and me talked about this.
Right.
In episode 2 of our Barney thing, we talk about episode 1 of Star Wars and how the fans went crazy. But we focus on Jake Lloyd. But Chris, you were saying that we should have done the Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar, I think, was the more direct connect. But VDR says, does Baby Bop get any screen time in this doc?
No, unfortunately. We spoke to the actress who played Baby Bop, but she was actually like on tour when we were filming, so we just kept missing her. And BJ, when we were in Texas, had COVID, so it was like it was just one of those situations we both talked to them, but it just didn't work out with the schedule. And we tried to get Tinky Winky in this thing as well, but he was in Europe and it just didn't work out. But we have Steve from Blue's Clues and Bill Nye the Science Guy and Al Roker.
No, there's a lot of good cameos that are unexpected. So Lord Thaw says, love this interview, guys. CD969 says, my wife was a family video store owner, store manager for years. When we started dating, his green walls with the video racks brought back ton of memories.
Right? I mean, Blockbuster had their colors, but like, the independent stores, the mom and pop shops had these like fun, bright colors, Yeah. Kid 50 asks, do you hate him? Do you hate Barney? No, I've learned to appreciate Barney. At the time when he came out, I didn't understand him, and that's usually where all hate comes from in the first place. But I've definitely now appreciate Barney because I mean, that's the funny thing is like it wasn't made by some like New York or LA, executive network sort of person. It was a school teaching mom from Allen, Texas, which is right near Dallas, and she was like, my kid. It would be great for my kid to watch something that could take his, just his attention for a minute. And so she made Barney and it became huge.
Yeah, it's
You know,
it's
oh,
Solomon Thornton says, "Are you going to do a Teletubbies or Caillou doc?"
Caillou.
No.
That's easy.
Let me ask you this: in terms of answering that question of why do people hate Barney, did you go in with kind of an open mind, saying let's find the answer, or was there kind of an idea that you thought was the answer and that you kind of pursued that route for a while?
Well, it's like why someone hates something. It says a lot more about themselves than anything. Like when we interviewed the guy who created the I Hate Barney Secret Society, and he talks about how he came home from work and his daughter, he was excited for his daughter to give him a big hug, and instead she's watching Barney. So like he starts getting this sort of jealousy thing. And in this I Hate Barney Secret Society, he talks about the kids being a Barney addict and the dysfunctional family. And like, you see throughout the film, not to give anything away, but like, he was an alcoholic, he was getting divorced. So it's like, it hits all these sort of triggers. Like Bob West, the voice of Barney, said, Barney is kind of like a mirror to all the things we don't like about ourselves. So it really just kind of hits these certain targets, especially love. I mean, love in the 90s, like that's such an uncomfortable word and thing. It's like, I don't know what love is. So I don't like this thing that's telling me about love,
Well, I think there's a difference between not liking something, because frankly, I didn't like Barney. I mean, like my kids,
it wasn't made for you. That's why,
it's not made for me. It's fine, but I didn't act on it in anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing I didn't like.
Well, you're a healthy individual.
Well, maybe, I don't know. That's questionable, but yeah. Davina Duckworth says hate is a strong word. Yeah, like
sure.
Yeah, but I can just say, like, the one thing is just like, because is this a true thing? Did they play Barney to torture?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so we kind of have a little audio snippet, but it was some CNN report where they used the I Love You song at Gitmo to torture people. And that's, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, like any song over and over and over can be torturous, but even just recently during the pandemic, there was a bunch of homeless people in some area of Los Angeles, and the people of the building just kept playing I Love You, You Love Me, and driving some of the homeless people crazy. They're like, the song, so. And wasn't it Waco? They played these boots are made for walking over and over and over.
I don't know, but I like that. I like Barney being used, to potentially clean up LA. That's kind of heartless, but I don't know if the current way we're dealing with the homeless issue, or as they call it now, unhoused, I don't think it's working. So what we're doing is working toward the benefit of both citizens and the people who are in that state, unfortunately. David Carlin says, I don't need to hear what some 40-year-old man thinks of Barney the dinosaur. It wasn't made for you. I kind of know what he's referencing. Andrew Eterno says, Barney calmed our hearts as toddlers. So Andrew might be the right age, see?
Yeah, so I mean, like that's what Barney was. Barney was like some of these people's first friends. Like in our film, we asked, okay, well, you weren't a Barney fan, maybe you weren't connected to Barney, but who was your Barney? Like mine was Cookie Monster. Like the way I think about Cookie Monster, like it warms my heart. It makes me feel like safe, and it just fills me with joy. So it's like you gotta respect what that character is for people.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers was that for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, totally. Now Mr. Rogers is a unique guy where like I never liked Mr. Rogers as a kid, but then I watched Morgan Neville's documentary. I was like, oh my god, this is great. Tom Hanks movie. You're like, this is great. Gavin Edwards wrote a book about Mr. Rogers. I was like, this guy is fantastic. Well,
we talked about that your movie could be the basis for a narrative feature. Has that been discussed?
I don't know. I mean, not with me, but I know. Was it the guy from Get Out?
Jordan Peele?
No, the actor.
Oh.
Why am I blanking on his name? Well, that dude from the lead actor in Get Out. Mm-hmm. He is trying to develop something with Mattel about like a scripted Barney movie. Daniel Kaluuya, thank you.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya. Yeah.
Thank you, Blair. He was trying to do a scripted movie about Barney, and the idea there was, okay, I love you, but what if you don't love me? And like I thought that was super interesting, but. They've been trying to work on that since 2019, but that's all I know.
Ryan Landis says, this documentary sounds great. I've got to check it out. One thing I think I failed to mention, the documentary is very funny.
Oh, cool.
It's
Thank
funny.
you.
It's really funny. So you're like, look, it has its dark moments, but there's very funny stuff. And we can wrap up here with one last question here. Glanuccio asks, what's the key to making a doc that immediately sucks the audience in? Because that's the one thing when I was reviewing it earlier, we talked about it. Like this, like the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, well, now I know what I'm doing for the next 2 hours.
Right.
Like,
Well,
how do you do that? Like,
I think it's different for each documentary, right? But for this one in particular, here's a good example. Like when I first talked to you, I was like, I've been on the show before. I've known you for a while. I was like, Chris, I'd love to come on and promote Barney. You're like, I don't think that's for my audience. And I was like, you gotta watch it, right? And that's what we wanted to do with this movie. It's like in the first 5 minutes, it's not going to be what you might think would be a Barney documentary.
right.
It really hits you like, and it just puts you on the off kilt, and that was like our thing. It's like, boom, 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 boom. This is something different. This is something special. Here's the story,
And then
I think that's your answer is a lot of boom, boom, boom.
I'm just because you've seen a lot of docs do that, where like the first few minutes of a documentary is so important because the first few minutes of any thing that you're going to watch to suck you in is important, especially if it's on streaming. If you're in the theater, you're stuck, right? You can actually have a slow burn and slowly get into a character, a topic, whatever. But when it comes to streaming, you better front load everything you're about to get out of whatever it is you're about to watch. Like, give me a taste of what it is. And I think that's the secret, because the documentaries that suck me in, the first 5 minutes are riveting. And that's true for your documentary. Cause I told you, and like, even though I've known you and you'll talk about you produced the Gore documentary. And I think we're going to get Gore on the show.
Yeah, I think next week, right?
Yeah, I think is it next Friday? Yeah, I think next Friday, Gore, members of Gore and you and the director will be on the show.
I think it's just Scott. Yeah, I mean,
Scott,
well, I didn't. I could. I just didn't. I thought you would be over me already.
All right. No, I'm not over you. But like when you said like the Barney, you're right. Like my reaction was, why would I want to watch that? And then literally within 5 minutes, I'm just like, okay, I have to watch. Now I have to drop everything and just watch this.
I mean, that was the important part. Like, and here's the thing too. It's like, so this is my first time working with a network, and I have great production partners with Scout Productions. Scout, they created Queer Eye, Legendary, The Hype, and Rob, our executive producer, he kept having to tell me, because it's like my first thing that's not an independent thing. He goes, "This isn't Sundance. This is television." and I can't, because like there's a part of me that wants to do that slow burn and like that sort of artsy sort of stuff. These are the movies. Like I have an A24 section of my thing. Like I love those kind of movies, but at the end of the day, it's television, and you kind of have to grab that person right away. And that's, I like to think that's what we did. It was that sort of like, you have no idea what this movie is going to be. You heard Barney, but this is this,
It's I'm telling you, everyone, if you've got Peacock or just sign up for Peacock just to see this, it's well worth it. A few more comments before you leave, and we have another special guest about to join us. Ryan Landis says, Tommy, it looks like you're getting a lot of press on this. That's awesome. Congrats. Patrick Lemire says, whenever something wholesome has a dark side, it's a big hook.
Now, I just want to understand that, like, our documentary, it's the dark side of us. Barney was fine. It's the dark side of society, because Barney was good. It was just the way we reacted to it.
Yeah. And then Andrew Eterno says, I'm watching this doc for sure. It's a fantastic premise. So
thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. And then Tommy, tell us the website again for your Kickstarter, because I just bookmarked it.
Oh, nice. It's thehousefrom.com. And we so far we've hit 17 different houses. We're just going to do a little bit more, but the main thing is just releasing ourselves. Like, Barney's the big one, but this house thing, there's not like, whenever you pitch to a network, they want like stakes, the drama. You're like, is someone going to lose their house? Is someone die in one of these houses? And that's not the story. It's just like, what's it like to live in a famous house? It's just jumping into this world, checking it out for 90 minutes, 80 minutes, and just saying, wow, that was interesting. I never thought of that. So that's why we're releasing ourselves, because I don't believe that every documentary needs those sort of stakes, drama.
Right. Tommy, thank you so much. Tommy Avallone, being on the Film Threat Livecast. You've been on it like 3 times now.
Yeah.
Probably I'll see you back again for the House From.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about it. Congrats on the Kickstarter, and want to thank you, dude. This, I mean, like, I never thought I'd be like raving about, the gnome from North. What the hell? The gnome name. Oh my God. That's horrific.
You know, I wore the same shirt 3 days in a row doing press. I just felt like it's my Barney shirt, and I just haven't washed it yet. So,
oh my God, yeah, you've got the Barney purple flannel.
Yeah, just trying to do like the Mick Foley approach, you know.
It's totally working. Tommy, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate it. We'll have you back again. Congrats on the movie, and congrats on the new Kickstarter coming up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I love Film Threat, so thank you so much.
Awesome. Take care. Later.
See ya.
What a great guy. Love that guy. He is awesome.
Barney this week, Gore next week. I mean, what?
Yeah, I think is Gore is I don't know. We have a schedule. Where we talk. We keep track of like who we're interviewing and what's going on. It's also subject to change. A lot of things changing. But wait, what are we doing here, Alan?
Yeah, there you go.
There we are. Wait, I like it better when you're over here. Wait, let's try that.
We're doing it at the same time.
Awesome. All right. Switching gears, because I know you love when we get to talk to directors, we bring them to you and all sorts of topics here at Film Threat. We have another documentary filmmaker, Maria Peak, who's joining us to talk about her film, Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think it's important that we talk about that. This is a very harrowing documentary that you need to know about because I'm of the opinion that anyone under the age of 18 should have no access to social media. And this documentary will open your eyes to that. Social media is frightening for kids. Let's bring on director Maria Peak now to talk about her documentary. Thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat Livecast. Maria, how's it going?
Thanks for having me, guys. Going great.
Tell us about Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. What led you to want to make this documentary? Because it's obviously something that's very personal. You can see the trailer. There's a link to the trailer in the description of this YouTube video. So check out the trailer after we talk to Maria. But this documentary is something that, first of all, I think I'm amazed that you needed to make a documentary. This is something that should be reported in the news daily. And it's shocking that these stories of kids being exploited is being completely ignored. What led you to making this documentary?
So we started this documentary during COVID. Somebody pitched us a project about Follow Dog, Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force in California. That was at the end of 2019. Then we started exploring the topic of human trafficking, kids, online enticement, doing a lot of research. We found about 50 different documentaries on human trafficking, but nothing was talking about sextortion and online enticement. And then COVID hit, and we realized we have to stick with the East Coast. We are both members of the Producers Guild of America. Me and my husband are a filmmaking team. And so we decided we're going to stay on the East Coast. We're going to work with the feds. We're going to work with HSI and Department of Justice. We're going to take a case that will blow your mind. It's basically a case of a Top Gun pilot that extorted about 300 different kids from all over the world. We had unlimited, unrestricted access to all the government files, to all the files, the entire investigation. So we wanted to show people how this happens on granular level. It's a true crime blended with education. We wanted to keep the elements of true crime. We wanted to keep the elements of surprise, to keep the story moving. Cinematography is really beautiful. We wanted to make it a cinematic experience at the same time, not a gory experience, but an experience people would, see, stay on the edge of their seats till the very end of the film and still be educated on this issue. We made it mainly for everybody. I mean, it's the fastest growing crime against kids that no one knows about. As you said, a lot of people are not talking about it, like Bruno in Encanto, the song, let's not talk about Bruno. No. We're not going to talk about sextortion. No. It's a taboo. But the thing is, we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I will say that this happened to my daughter during COVID when everyone was locked down, and she's just communicating with her friends on Discord, and strangers just started to show up in her Discord rooms. And you know, it was just like, you know, you got to be real careful who you're talking to. And just, you know, people, you know, we don't know who these people are. And we realize, yeah, they're trying to get to her right then and there.
Yeah, we have at that time, our girls were 9 and 12. Now they're 11 and 14. It took us 2 years to make this doc. Usually it takes us about 12 months. And we were horrified because at first it was 1 in 7 children targeted for this. Now it's 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Anybody who's online at any time. So the numbers during COVID just they skyrocketed, and we were like, we have to make this. We have no choice.
Yeah, and you mentioned in the documentary that it's happening everywhere. Discord apps, chat apps, video games. They're coming through every angle a child can get to on the internet, basically.
Yes, and they're very good at manipulating, and they're teaching each other how to do that. And it's like the whole chat groups exist where they know how to basically groom a child, because, you know, everybody wants to be told they're pretty and they like them, and boys and girls, it's happening to everybody. We had so many cases recently. Unfortunately, 17-year-old boys get tricked into this, and several of them just recently lost their life. And that's why we thought during Mental Health Awareness Month, we want to talk about this, because you know, kids don't have a way out. They don't know they're not the only one. And so it kind of ends tragically sometimes for them.
Well, I will say this. I see your movie as something of an extension of the documentary that's on Netflix, The Social Dilemma. It's an extension of that, the dangers of social media and how corrosive. I think I said in my intro before we brought you on, I don't think any child should have access to social media, but as it's been pointed out, like Alan's daughter through Discord, TikTok, we have a lot of comments and questions. I'll get to those in a minute. But like, if you have a child that's online in any form, they're on some live video game, you know, like playing Fortnite, right? This can happen. It's rampant. So how do you even police it? It's literally like the access to kids now. It's crazy. And so what are the ways to even like stop it as a parent? Like, and I didn't know that, Alan, and that's really shocking to hear and disappointing to hear. But like, tell us like about the social media element and just like how these kids get sucked in.
So, I mean, we just did a limited 20-city tour. And, you know, if people are talking about movies being dead in theaters, they're not dead in theaters. We were overwhelmed. We showed the film to over 5,000 people. And literally every location, coast to coast, somebody stood up and said, it's happening to my daughter. It's happening to my son. It's happening to me. Here is the chat. So the social media just by itself is not either good or bad. You know, we drive cars, we can get in a car wreck, or we can go and eat at a restaurant. We do have to know how to use social media. We have to know how to be safe on social media. You know, we study how to drive a car for a year and a half with, you know, an assistance. And I mean, the same thing applies to social media. We need to know what are the red flags. Like if somebody knows everything about you, but you know nothing about them, you never met them in real life, be very careful, because usually they friend somebody and then they friend of a friend. And then kids are very trusting, they're gullible, and, you know, you can't blame them. They just don't know what can happen. So they friend the person and they think they're friends with their friends. And then they give them information. Oh, I go to the school, or I'm on this team. Oh, cool. And then he knows where they live, or she, and they can target them and they can compliment them. Oh, I love your picture. Send me a bikini photo. You know, and oftentimes just a topless photo, a bikini photo is enough for the kids to be extorted for months afterwards. They just twist. And we've been talking a lot with HSI about like the profile of a person who does that. There is no profile. It's basically can be anybody. Like if you see in the film, you'll be very shocked who the predator really was.
It's almost as if I remember back when I was in high school a long time ago, they showed us educational films, right? One of the educational films was about, you know, just safety and, safety, driving safety. And some of these movies were horrific, and it had a good effect on me. I have never not worn a seatbelt in a car. When I was 16, I had already seen a couple of 16 millimeter movies in class that made me like, I am always going to wear my seatbelt. I don't want to end up, murdered and horribly disfigured in an accident or killed. And I feel like we need that kind of film that is geared towards kids. There's a lot of comments in the chat. Do you mind? There's like over 300 people watching us live right now. Do you mind taking some comments and questions here? You can. Okay,
sure.
So let's take some comments here. Diamond Plate says, "Welcome, Maria. Thank you for stopping by today." Kid 50 says, "I will see this. Thank you for making this documentary." SQ1 Artist says they need to put an age limit on social media and video games.
They do, but
they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an age limit for a lot of things, but it doesn't mean someone can't sneak into an R-rated movie. Karen Wen says, yes, parents don't use the internet as a babysitter. For sure. Davina Duckworth says, kids always think they're savvy online too. Is that what you find, that like kids think, I'm not going to get caught up in this. Nothing's going to happen to me.
Yeah, all of them say that. But then when they hear from other kids, that's when it really kind of hits them hard. When an adult tells them, or a special agent comes to their school and starts giving them a PowerPoint presentation, they're like, whatever. And when they watch a movie, they're like, oh my gosh, this actually happened to her. And he looked like this in real life, but he looked like this on social media. And it starts clicking. It's almost like concrete thinking, not abstract thinking. You have to show them examples, and they have to hear from other kids. And that's when they start being careful. We actually had kids delete their social media apps in the middle of the showing. The very last showing we did on the East Coast, they're like, okay, I'm done with Snapchat. And it was funny. And then they raised their hand and they're like, well, how do I stay safe? They don't want to be victimized. They want to be leaders, and they're going to be online. So we kind of have to, talk about Bruno until we're blue in the face, until we educate them, until they understand what can happen, and then they're smart enough to avoid it. I do believe they're smart enough to avoid it. We just never kind of brought it up to them. We never showed them on a granular level, hey, listen, this is a true crime. We kept it between PG and PG-13 so kids 10 and up can watch it. This case was insane. I have 5 volumes of files, and I mean, you don't want to read those files. Nobody wants to read those files. So I cleaned it up. Basically, 98% of filth was on the cutting floor. The 2% ended up in the film. And also some stuff that he did to avoid authorities ended up on the cutting floor because, it was just like too much. It was too fantastical, except it was real life. But why we did that is because we wanted kids to be able to see it with their parents, 10, 11, 12, 13. The target age is actually 10 to 15, and you still get the margins. You still get the younger ones and the older ones, but the target age for this is 10 to 15. So that's why we kind of put it together like that.
Solomon Thornton says, thanks for speaking out about this. Karen Wen says, I grew up with stranger danger drilled into my head. It applies to the internet. Someone in the chat says, not only Discord, TikTok is the #1 source. And Lord Thoth says, as a human trafficking / child prawn investigator, I can truly appreciate the struggle with children and social media. Lord Thoth, if you reach out to Film Thread, I can connect you with the Maria's publicist. You need to see this film because you're doing special screenings around the country, isn't that right?
Yes, we've been invited internationally. I just hung up with Pentagon today. We're going to screen for military and the Navy. We are screening for EU Parliament. We're going to Australia. We are going to several other European countries. So we are overwhelmed by requests, overwhelmed. We did not expect this to happen. But all the frontliners, the law enforcement, people who deal with this, they understand how big this is. They're getting about 80,000 reports of child exploitation per day. 80,000 per day, National Center for Missing Exploited Children, all the child exploitation, including sextortion. So it's a little bit overwhelming for us as filmmakers. We didn't know what we, stepped into when we started making film.
The chat's on fire with comments, so I'll get to as many as I can. But here we go. Crid of Junior says, to this day, I can't believe parents give their kids unlimited access to social media, let alone the internet. Effing insane. Thus, the supplement engineer, this seems like it comes back to parenting. Keep a better monitor and be active in what your children do. I think it's just have dinner with your kids every day. That was something when my kids were young. We just always had dinner. It was at a certain time. You had to sit there and eat, and we would just talk about stuff. I think that helps. That's the most simple thing I can think of. Ryan Landis, this is one of the scariest problems today. It is almost impossible to shelter children from anything now. Yeah, because they could go to a friend's house that has access to internet, even if you take away, they don't have a social media account. Education is the best defense. And then a question here, Crux Raju Chu, I'm saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. What safeguards do you think need to be put in place to help prevent this?
I think that number one is education and prevention, right? There is a lot of groups who study this, like We Protect out of England. We work with them. They have millions of members, and they surveyed all the victims of this. And the victims said, had we known, we wouldn't have fallen into this. So number one is education. Educate yourself how this happens on the granular level. And then just personal practical tips. Never have the child have their phone in their bedroom or in their bathroom at night ever. And also, their profiles, if you choose to give them social media, they should be private. They should not be set to public. And then camera and obviously photos cannot have geolocators in them. You have to disable that, because that's how, if they publish something to Snap and it's public, then the perpetrator just knows where your child lives, because they just published their location at Snap. And that's how they actually, if you watch the film, you'll know that's one of the common threats. I know where you live. I know your school. I'll release your pictures and I will come and hunt down your family. And the kids are like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So we kind of want to tell them, you're not alone. There are millions of other children who fallen victims to this. It's not your fault. We won't take your phone away. We will be there for you. So you're not going to be able to stop them from using the internet. It's just not going to happen. You have to educate them to the level where they can educate their friends. Several of the kids who stood up said, this is happening to my best friend. What do I do? Like, they already knew this was happening. They just didn't know what to do about it.
More questions here. CD Stein 69 says, do you think that the increase of these incidents is any way a correlation with the mainstream media push to change the language and normalization with terms like minor attracted persons?
Well, from what I hear from law enforcement, I'm a mini expert in this. They are the maxi experts in this. There are a lot of groups and sites now that kind of make this normal, and they enable each other how to, sextort kids for images. In the past, they used to be very abnormal and people didn't talk about it, didn't find friends in this space. Now the perpetrators are finding friends in this space. And the most recent development is Nigerian, banking scheme. Now it's Nigerian sextortion scheme against boys. They meet a female online who's very attractive. They send a photo, they flip on them and send me the gift card, send me $500, send me $5,000, or I'm releasing the image. So they're targeting older male children for that specific scheme for the money.
I even the sextortion stuff has happened. I used to watch a TV show, I'm embarrassed to admit this, 90 Day Fiance, before the 90 days. And one of the people that was on this show got catfished by a guy who's so-called British and needed money. And it's that scam happens. And, she had sent photos. So this happens not just to children. So there you go. Patrick Lemire asks, what is the source of predators? Are these overseas boiler rooms?
They have a lot of overseas rings, sextortion rings that we talk about in the film. We have a lot of predators on the just normal people living normal lives, and you can't really profile them because they've been trying to do it for 20 years and you can't really predict. There is no predictors what drives people to this behavior. That's what the agents told me recently, that like on the national level. But there are definitely sextortion rings where you think you're talking to one person and you're actually talking to 12 different people.
Anonymous says, I hope this documentary gets widely seen, especially by parents. And Kid 50 says, buying this on Vudu right now. So tell us about the release of the film, and if you have a website that you can direct people to. So is there a website?
Yes, there is a sextortionfilm.com. We have about 8 different platforms that the film is released on TVOD. We're also doing a lot of community screenings across the country and internationally. If you click on resources, you will see free resources. You can show your child what sextortion is. using 5-minute video and discuss it with them. You also have a way of reporting this and a way of taking down images. If you go to National Center for Missing Exploited Children, they can take down all the images and they can provide all the resources. And we have a lot of resources on the website as well, just free resources for you guys.
Cool. So it looks like everything's on the website. It's sextortionfilm.com, screenings, where to get it, and get the film. So I think this is really important. I'm really glad that you came on the show to talk to us about this today. And I wish you a lot of success with this. It's an important topic. And just as I'm a fortunate parent that my kids missed all of this. They were like just at the end of high school, kind of getting into Facebook, and neither of them is particularly interested in social media. But really, this is something that I think when we begin to study this more carefully, study social media and internet access, we're going to discover that it's worse for kids than smoking, all of this access. So congratulations on the film, and thank you. It's this type of film that I think needs exposure, and I'm happy that you're here on the show to talk to our audience. And I want to thank also our audience. We talk about a lot of different movies here. We were talking about Terrifier 2 and crazy weird horror films, and we were talking about House of the Dragon and She-Hulk, and I do think it's important for us to take the time to talk about other types of films. So thank you, Maria.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Thank you for
Thanks for being on the show. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Yeah, I tell you, if you have a child, you need to see this movie. It was eye-opening, and to have seen it happen in my house, thankfully I have a relationship with my daughter where she just came up to me with her cell phone, saw someone in the chat, and I go, oh, this is clearly a scam going on here. This is not who this person says they are, and we dealt with it.
Well, yeah, it's just something that I wonder why, like, God, I remember seeing so many educational films, like, about health, about traffic safety, about
red asphalt.
Yeah. No, and they're all like exploitation movies. Like, you can look them up. There's like ephemera collections of films like that, like Duck and Cover and things like that. Like, oh, just go under your desk. That nuclear explosion will just go right over you. But I think it's important that this film gets seen. And in particular, if you're a parent or going to have kids, man, I don't know. Like you.
Well, the one thing that stuck out to me is this film is timely. I mean, it's dealing with what's happening now and the technology kids and teens have at their disposal right now. And so it's not dated in any way. And there's information there that will help you now.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. What a big show today. We reviewed like 5 movies. We got to see Alan again. And we got to talk to 2 filmmakers. So just want to say thank you. We're trying to grow our channel. So if you are new, please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to Film Thread. Hit that like button because it helps get our videos recommended in the recommends. So definitely do that. And just remember,
holy fucking shit, these reviews are delicious.
Oh, wow.
Finish him.
Oh, my jeans.
all right, that's it for us. We will be back Friday. We got a big show on Friday. We're going to talk about the She-Hulk season finale. We're going to talk about the Weird Al Yankovic movie. Alan will be seeing that. I will be in Tucson, Arizona. If you're there, please join me for a screening of Attack of the Doc on Saturday night. I'll be there. Come to the screening. Go to filmfesttucson.com to get tickets for the screening of Attack of the Doc on Saturday night. Alan, what else?
Visit the site. I know what you're going to do. Visit the website, filmthread.com, for reviews of indie films. And let's get out of here.
All right, take care, everybody. Thank you again. We'll see you on Friday.